saving time, and it may save you money.
I'm new to Medicare, so I called to make sure I understood plans and benefits available in my area.
I just became eligible for Medicare, so I called to find a plan that fits my budget.
I'm on Medicare and recently moved, so I called to make sure to find a plan in my new community.
One call to compare options from multiple carriers.
For a free no-obligation consultation, call 800-549-9841.
Imagine the peace of mind you'll have knowing that you've explored your options and chosen the right plan for you. No more second-guessing whether you could have found better coverage. Whether you're looking to reduce the cost of your plan, add benefits, or simply ensure your current doctors are still covered, this one call can make all the difference. Don't risk missing out on Medicare Advantage plans with important additional benefits. Call the Benefits Network to speak to a licensed insurance agent about Medicare Advantage plans and compare rates from national carriers.
I'm on Medicare and recently moved, so I called to make sure to find a plan in my new community.
I just became eligible for Medicare, so I called to find a plan that fits my budget.
One call to compare options from multiple carriers. It's your health, your peace of mind, and your time. Make the most of it today.
For a free no-obligation consultation, call 800-549-9841. That's 800-549-9841.
Boy, I'm learning more and more about this John Burnett guy.
Yeah.
House music and going to parties on the weekends with your boys and to Canada.
I remember I forgot my passport. And the thing is, my friend had his passport. We were going to Canada to party, listen to all the house music. And I forgot and I worked at Smith Barney at the time. So I said, all I have is my Smith Barney business card.
And he was like, so?
And he looked at it. He says, you know what? Our pension is managed by Smith Barney. He says, go ahead. I said, yeah, but won't I have problems coming back in? He said, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
I was like, wow, this is awesome. That, of course, folks, was before 9/11. I think it was in 1999 or 2000.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool.
No way I would have done that, because I would have been concerned about not being able to get back into the States.
If it was older John Burnett, I would have never took that chance. But a younger John Burnett, hey, let the good times roll.
Mr. DJ.
And we did have a good time, but that does it for us.
Unchanging truth in an ever-changing world. Turning Point with Dr. David Jeremiah. Weekends on theDove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. And this is Jerry Bilden's main office now.
Yeah, well, it is.
Right here.
Right here at this desk. I love it.
There we go. Good morning to you. Happy Thursday. A little cooler. Mm-hmm. You can kind of feel it. Coming out of an evening of unbelievable activity with fires, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. In fact, one just popped up outside the door here this morning, so all eyes on that. Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season, so be careful. A lot going on in the news, and I don't know, but the Middle East is really on edge, and we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Anything special today?
Well, are we the only ones working today? It's Juneteenth.
Yeah, it's interesting. The banks are closed, schools, offices, all
stock market.
All this is going to be closed through Juneteenth, but most of the celebrations and recognitions have been canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're just companies aren't going to pay for any kind of things going on with this. So basically, what it is, it's the end of slavery.
Yeah, exactly right, and it was announced in Galveston, Texas, on this day in 1865.
Yeah. So all right. Thank the Lord, slavery ends.
Absolutely.
But it was carried into huge things there for a while, and I think DEI and everything else just kind of calmed us down a little bit.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a day on the calendar. I think that is significant that somehow it raised to the level where it's got everything closed on its behalf.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to be the big celebration that it's been in the past.
Yeah, well, not here because we're working.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to have a day off because, I got up this morning. But
we commemorate the day. It's a big deal in our country's history.
Yes.
But we continue to work on it. Yeah. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. It's also World Sauntering Day. Are you in a big hurry? slow down and saunter. Try moseying around on June 19th because it is World Sauntering Day. It counters the attention given to jogging and encourages people to stroll, ramble, and wander. That's interesting, huh?
You know, go from this end of the building to that end of the building, and you'll see 8 people doing that.
Hey, I've been sauntering for weeks. I love it. Also, National Watch Day. That thing you have on your wrist has changed through the years. The history of watches, I didn't realize this, but dates back to the 15th and 16th century. That's a long time. But during this time period, only the hour hand was present on a watch. And it wasn't until the 17th century that minutes and seconds were added to the features of watches. And created initially for women, the design of wristwatches were typically elegant pieces of jewelry and strictly worn by women. Men preferred to carry pocket watches because of the symbolism of being sophisticated and well-to-do. Wristwatches began to transition towards men only during World War II. Specifically soldiers, because the pocket watch was an impractical item for those wearing uniforms.
Wow.
World War II, I didn't realize that. The wristwatch, for men anyway, is kind of a modern phenomenon.
Well, I have to tell you, you know, Steve Johnson, he has a collection of watches that'll sink a ship. You know, that was one of his habits. Yeah. But, you know, they were expensive-looking, cheap watches. So if you're watching, Steve, we got onto that pretty quick. They were expensive. They were expensive-looking watches that were cheap.
And some of them actually kept time.
They actually did. You know, and he'd come in, look at this. You know.
I know. I remember.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, though, I've had a lot of watches in my day, but this Apple's by far the best.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is the most and far most encompassing of anything that we put on our wrist.
It even tells me when my battery is low.
Yes. It tells me things I don't want to know.
I get home and say, well, you only got 10% left. And I go, okay. Just the other day I figured out it was the watch battery, but actually I thought it was mine.
And of course, not to mention the times when we're sitting here together and our watches go zzz.
Yeah.
It tells us exactly at the same second, stand up. Stand up, you guys.
Yeah, we ought to do that when we have our cutoffs on.
And it is also National Garfield the Cat Day.
Oh.
It was on this day that Garfield was introduced. It's a real popular publication, a cartoon strip. It was syndicated in 2013, and roughly 2,500 newspapers and journals hold the Guinness World Record for the most widely syndicated comic strip, and that's Garfield.
Wow.
You know, I think Garfield would saunter. It's World Sauntering Day.
Oh,
he never moves too quick, does he?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. All right,
one last thing.
All right.
Snails. How do you like snails? Do you eat snails?
Well,
it's called the escargot.
Yeah.
Well, check that out.
There are just some things you can't put enough salt on.
Well, did you know that snails usually have between 10,000 and 15,000 teeth? Though some may have up to 25,000 teeth. And they're generally organized in rows of about 100 teeth per row, and there are up to 25 rows of teeth. Aside from their shocking number of teeth, snails can sleep up to 3 years without waking up. During this time, they go into
about sauntering.
Yeah, you talk about that is sauntering on steroids. They'll go into a state of hibernation where their heart rate and their breathing slow down, but when they eventually wake up, they might have some memory loss or be completely unaware of what happened in the past few years. Now, I'm researching this, and I'm reading this, I'm thinking, what, did somebody ask them what they remember? How do you know what snails retain memory-wise?
Wow.
I mean, this is like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But lots of teeth and long naps.
Well, they're very destructive to a garden.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You got to watch that. I had them one time. In fact, our pastor took us to dinner and ordered snails, or escargot, for like an appetite.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only way I got through it was the sauce and the garlic that they put on them. That's the only way. And they had these little forks, you know.
Okay, do you chew it or just let us lie down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't taste anything because of the garlic. Otherwise, I don't know how you could do it.
Yeah, well, garlic is a good mask for just about anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, so take your snails and enjoy it.
Okay, well, listen, he's been moving like a snail for the last 11 weeks, but he's doing pretty good. Today you're bootless.
I am bootless, yeah, and found out how big my foot really is right now.
All right, don't bang it into anything.
Oh, thank you. I will.
Man.
I'm being very careful. Getting out of that truck, it's kind of high.
Yeah.
I land on my left foot instead of my right.
Okay, well, you sure you don't want to put a bumper on the thing?
Hey, I got Crocs on. They are bumpers.
Okay, well, anyway, here he is doing the weather.
A look at our Thursday weather, thanks to Grange Co-op. A cool front is moving our way, but today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny with increasing clouds and daytime highs in the low to mid-70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny with increasing clouds through the day and high temperatures in the mid-70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a northwest wind 5 to 8 miles per hour. Mostly sunny today across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and warm with highs in the low to mid 90s. Mostly sunny and breezy along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures in the mid-60s in Coos Bay, near 62 in Port Orford, mid-50s in Brookings, and near 60 in Crescent City with winds up to 33 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, sunny with high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Grants Pass and Ashland and low 80s in Medford. In Klamath Falls, sunny and breezy with a high near 82 and gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Into Northern California, sunny with a high in the mid-80s in Wairika, sunny and breezy from Redding with a high in the mid-90s, through Chico near 93 and Sacramento near 87 with a southwest wind gusting to 24 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with daytime highs near 80 in Santa Rosa and 77 in Napa, sunny and breezy in mid-60s in San Francisco with a west wind gusting to 32 miles per hour, and today in San Jose, sunny in mid-70s. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
All right, good morning to you. There's a look at our valley. The color tells you how tender it is out there. And we'll talk about some fires that are happening. And we do have a change coming. You can see the high clouds kind of moving in. It's going to keep the temperatures capped out. We could see some rain tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this develops.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. What is your view of heaven? It's hard to get your mind around sometimes.
Well, sleeping past 4.
Amen, brother. Amen. Well, to further this encouragement, here's Ann Graham Lotz.
Heaven is prepared in detail, every little detail, and it's prepared from a heart of love. I was reading about the Taj Mahal yesterday, and on one of my trips to India, I made time to go down to Agra and see the Taj Mahal. And it's a gorgeous building, smaller than I thought, but it's made out of white marble, sits on a sandstone platform beside a broad river, has the minarets on the corners of the platform that point like fingers to the sky. It's inlaid with semi-precious stones of birds and flowers, all the symbols of the Islamic paradise, and took 20 years to build. 22,000 skilled craftsmen, and I just discovered yesterday over 1,000 elephants to move all of that marble. And it was built by a Maharaja as a tomb in which to bury his wife, to whom he had only been married for 14 years. But it was his monument of love to his wife. And I thought, if a Maharaja could build the Taj Mahal, that exquisitely beautiful building, as a tomb in which to bury his wife, to whom he had only been married 14 years. What is Jesus preparing for you and me, not to bury us, but to live with us forever and ever? And it's not been just 14 years, it's been at least almost 2,000 years he's been preparing this place. It's exquisitely beautiful, and he's preparing it with a heart of love in detail just for you.
You ever think about it? It's almost, the scripture does give us a word about heaven. Eye is not seen, ear is not heard, nor has even entered into the heart of man the things that God has prepared for those who love him. Heaven is beyond human, I guess, comprehension.
Or imagination.
Yeah. We always kid about streets of gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we kid about that. If you try to imagine eternity past versus eternity future, it blows your mind.
Yeah.
And then you try to imagine, where is heaven? You look out there, is it up there somewhere? You know, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But the Scripture references that so much. It is the ultimate promise. It is the ultimate reason that Christ came to redeem us, so that we would be with him. All things that God created, he only created humans in his likeness and image.
Right, yeah.
And so, anyway, so much for my little sermonette there.
Okay.
But she's such a communicator.
I love Anne Graham lots, yep.
All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at top stories. Things in the Middle East are really heating up. Last night, Iran launched some missiles over and hit a hospital in Israel, and this is not being taken lightly by Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister. And he sent 20 jets over back in to destroy Iran missile batteries and places. I do have a question about this. By the way, this is the ultimate attack.
Oh, yeah.
A hospital.
Right. Yes.
Children were injured, elderly people, stuff like that. So this is the one that's going to really spark some response. But as precision as this 6-7 day war has been, why haven't they gone after the missiles first? Why haven't they gone after the missile launching first?
I don't know. I hear that they've taken out a certain percentage of them.
Yeah,
but that's
about
a good
30%.
question. Yeah, well, why not the rest?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the reasons, and I'm just guessing,
okay,
all you military guys listening to me right now, you probably know all this, is they're mobile. They're moving around.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's probably
They got some of them in the back of Toyota pickups, don't they?
Yeah. So the president, the prime minister said this was a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And at least 65 people were injured. And so here we go. Now, President Trump said he has this big decision to make. Does the United States get involved? Okay. And the interesting part about this is he doesn't want to be involved in a long, prolonged war. He wants to get out of one and not get into one, so to speak. Already members of Congress on both sides of the fence are not wanting to, are saying that he has to get approval from Congress. That argument's now out there. But here's what the president had to say about all that.
You've answered questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit.
Okay, so the Wall Street Journal published a story late yesterday, and this is the Wall Street Journal, so I can't tell you if it's true or not. Okay, but the Wall Street Journal basically said the president has made the decision to attack. He just hasn't given the okay to go. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, the Israeli Air Force is in there trying to soften up this place where the nukes are, Fordo, and I guess they don't have the bunker-busting bomb that can go deep into the earth and do what it needs to do. Right. We have that, and it only can be delivered by our B-2 bomber. So all of this is still going on, and the president, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, has said okay, but hasn't said when. Now, let me ask you something. The president has made this interesting statement. You touch one of our people, and all hell's going to break loose.
Yes, yeah.
Well, guess what? Iran's already touched our people.
Really?
They've already killed a bunch of Americans. They have all, and on October 7th, they killed some and still have some in captivity.
Right. Yep.
Okay, and I'm going, well, wait a minute, this has already happened.
Yeah.
So that tells me the president's probably made the decision to do it. The question is when. Now, with this attack on the hospital last night, Netanyahu is really up in arms, and he is, look, it's pedal to the metal here, so I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
But hold on, folks. I mean, this is day 7, day 6, day 7. We're going to see an escalation through this weekend that's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
The Karen Reed murder case, I did not follow this close, but her first trial was a mistrial. Her second trial, she was acquitted.
Yeah.
On the worst charge, which was second-degree murder, but she still held on the second charge where she is guilty of a lesser offense of operating a vehicle under the influence of a blood alcohol level of 0.08%. Why was this case so front and center?
That's a great question.
It captivated the news, and I'm going, what is with this case?
I don't know.
All right, it's supposedly she hit and run her boyfriend,
right,
who was a cop,
right,
and it killed him.
And then she left, or that's what she was accused of.
Well, see,
right,
and so the first trial, mistrial, second trial, it was you're not guilty. So you're kind of going, okay, what's going on here? But I guess because it involved the cop, and I'm not trying to play it down. It's just that I was captivated by the fact that this thing was headline news for the longest time. And anyway, and then the other story last night, did you see? Poor Elon had a bad day last night.
Boy.
SpaceX blew up.
On the launch pad.
On the launch pad last night. This thing exploded. And this is a real setback. The SpaceX ship exploded. It was a test that they were doing. And this thing was in Texas.
Yeah, apparently they were fueling it.
Yeah, something went desperately wrong. And amazing.
What?
Nobody got hurt.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is
that is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But that shows you, look, folks, you just want to go out and jump on the end of a rocket?
Yeah. Who wants to get on the next one? Oh, I will. People line up for this.
I don't know. You want to jump on, Bezos' little joyride, or you want to get on SpaceX and go? Now, don't get me wrong. He's been very successful at this.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, the most successful at this. So, yeah, a little hiccup there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a bad day.
Boy, I'll say.
All right. Well, we had some fires in our backyard, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
The walls fall down and our land be healed.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Thursday, better known as Friday Eve. It is Juneteenth Day, which is the recognition of the end of slavery in the United States, the great emancipation, you know. And that's what it is. So a lot of banks, government offices, and everything will be closed today, schools and all that. Well, last night, we all just held our breath as we saw a fire break out in the Upper Applegate, which is in our own backyard, and it quickly took off because it was very windy. And I want to add, at one time they said it was between 400 and 500 acres. Well, it ended up being around 350 acres. Now, let me say something about this. I have never seen, of all of our years living here and seeing fires around us, this response was amazing. At one point, they had 5 airplanes on it and 3 helicopters.
Wow.
They just relentlessly went after it. And I don't know who's in charge of this. It was partially private land and BLM land. They called in some airplanes from outside our area last night. They started flying on this thing, and they got a hold of it fast. Now, I don't know what agencies were in charge, but I will say this. Thank you. And we had that one helicopter. We had 2 helicopters parked out here. One was out here, kind of like on a maintenance checkup they were doing. It took off last night and went to the fire.
Oh, wow. Okay.
One of those big Sikorsky things. And so they got on it. And I tell you, this is the way it should be. When they break out, you kick in.
Yeah.
And they did it. And so I'm sure there's a lot of cleanup and stuff going on today. But boy, this shows you how fragile that is. And it went from 2 acres to 350 in just a matter of...
Yeah. A couple things. Does this indicate a change in policy?
It appears to be.
Yeah.
And if this is it, this is a good one.
Right.
Because they really did a good job.
And we have heard no news about what the cause of this
Not
was.
yet.
Okay.
And you know, what's interesting, it was happening so fast. Now, I have duty watch.
Yeah.
Or watch duty.
Watch duty, yeah.
And you can get the one where it shows the air flight.
Flight tracker, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm watching this thing, and I said, well, one's taking off, and you can, oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
Here, one should be coming in. Here it comes.
Yeah.
And then, oh, look, the helicopter's leaving. The helicopter's going over there.
Yeah.
Well, they got on this. I don't know what agency was in control. I don't know if this is a policy change, but to me, this is the way it should be done. They were on it, and they got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to say thank you.
Hey, did you, by the way,
scary
about the same time, did you look across the valley towards Eagle Point yesterday afternoon late? A house burned on the golf course. So you had this going on, and you had a house fire going on over in Eagle Point. It was just a strange time.
Well, the only thing I can say is we're in a very dangerous time. We're in that season. If you look at our little mountain cam that we have up there that shows you the valley. Do you guys have that? Can you throw it up there, Scott, the mountain cam? This will just show you what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
There's only one color. It's called brown.
Yes.
Okay, that shows you how dry everything is. So be extra careful out there. All right, the other story is that the Oregon Farm Bureau is now very, very concerned about immigrants being targeted.
Yeah.
And so the Oregon Farm Bureau weighed in with the president's policy because apparently a Newberg vineyard management business owner and one of the employees was arrested at the site. Well, this just sparks all kinds of stuff. Now, you've heard me say this quite some time. Look, I understand illegal immigration. Don't get me wrong here. I totally get it, okay? At the same time, there's a lot of people that want to come in and do this work.
Yes.
And we have got to figure out a way to make this work better.
Yes.
And not only the ag industry, the hospitality industry, and other areas. And let's face it, a lot of Americans will not go do this.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to be politically incorrect. I don't even know how to say it. But look, we need this labor, and we have got to figure out a way to handle this.
Yeah.
The president in the last couple of days has pulled back and ordered a pause in the workplace for raiding farms and hospitality industry.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I'm not giving a pass to illegal.
Right.
What I'm saying is there another vetting process where we can take somebody who wants to come into this country and work in those industries and somehow document them where they can come and go or be in the line to be citizens or come in for a season and leave. This has got to go to high priority.
And
because a lot depends upon it.
I think we're seeing a kind of a pause or a review of this in the White House because they know it's affecting certain sectors of the business community. I saw a story about a meatpacking plant that ICE visited and took basically about half of the workforce. And so some of the numbers that came out is that about 4% of the workforce in the United States currently is illegal. But certain businesses, as you mentioned, the hospitality industry, agriculture, and some of these have between 17 and 19% illegal immigrants as employees. Okay, where's the onus? We used to talk about employers hiring illegals, and that was bad, and they would try to...
And they became complicit to the problem.
So you got half your employees that are illegals, and you don't know it? What's going on?
Well, look, let me say this, and I come from an ag background. You don't, and when harvest time is there, you can't put it off. When the grapes are right, you got to pick them. When the tomatoes are there, you got to get them. When the corn's there, you got to get it. And so I would say that we have to take a long look at this. If I was president for a day, I'd actually create an agency for this. Not that we need another level of government, but I would do something within the ag department that would create some kind of means where these people could be temporarily documented one way or the other, so they can stay here and do this work.
And the strange thing, Perry, is that we have had foreign worker programs, visiting programs for years, but apparently it's not working that well because there's a huge opportunity to make it work right.
See, the bad overruled the good. We did have a work release or a work program. But it got ran over by the bus of the nonsense. So, you make a good point. Do these employers know? But I'm telling you, when you're looking at 1,000 acres out there of tomatoes that have to be harvested.
I get it.
And this is going to force something else that could really hamper the big ag. I say hamper big ag, actually grow big ag and probably be a detriment to the small farmer. And that is more and more of this stuff will become automated. And the problem with automating a lot of harvesting is it's not as good as, because some of the fruit gets damaged and gets on the ground. So your yield goes down.
Well, I know about, one of the high school jobs that I did in the summertime was I worked in a peach orchard. And I was the guy that drove the tractor with the bins and followed the pickers. And when they would bring their pails with the fruit, they couldn't dump it in the bin. They had to hand it to me. And then I would go to the bottom of the bin and fold it in because they're picking by piece. So they come in and dump it quick and go. So I get it, how this thing works out there in the early mornings that you go out there. But again, too, I think the visiting work program is something that we need to revisit and figure out how to make this better and more effective, because obviously there are a lot of migrant workers that want to come in here and work.
And I think that's the bad side of this. We're throwing everybody into one pot and mixing it up. That's not being fair. There's a lot of bad people, and most of them came in over the last 4 years, and they know where most of these people are. Get those first. And then come back and figure out if somebody's literally working in the field. That's got to be considered. Boy, don't write me an email then. Well, you're pro illegal. No, because one of my concern is this. The initial crime has been watered down. The initial crime of coming in illegal is no longer has any teeth to it. And that needs to be reestablished. So anyway, border integrity being what it is these days. All right, take a look at the satellite image. No, is that what I did? Take a look at the satellite image. Ooh, there we go. And you see that system off to the north? Well, there's one behind that's a little bit further south, and it does change the complexion.
This is our transition date, 75 today, partly cloudy, but Clouds gathering tonight, 50% chance of showers tomorrow in low 60s, 65% chance on Saturday in low 60s, but starting to warm up on Sunday and clearing up a little bit into next week where we see severe clear coming our way again and daytime highs in the mid-80s.
All right.
Okay, well, cryptocurrency, that's something we've been scratching our heads about for quite some time around here.
It's kind of like EVs. I'm not a believer.
I'm not. Well, you know, and it's hard, Perry, it's hard to be a believer when you find these stories about these guys who start these cryptocurrency businesses. They become billionaires in like a couple months, and then they find out they did something wrong and they go to jail. It's like, wait a minute, this is a volatile industry.
This is the modern day snake oil.
Excellent. Yes, I think you are right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro announces the biggest ever cryptocurrency scam crackdown.
The crime here involves an organized crime ring linked to an international human trafficking syndicate linked back to foreign actors in multiple compounds in Southeast Asia. And as you can see from the chart over there, which is not behind me, but these are sophisticated bad actors who send stolen money through a variety of complex transactions and intermediary addresses between the initial victim deposit and along the blockchain to launder and obfuscate the source of the funds. So the hopeful investor now enters the Wild West on an international scale where the crime is global, where there are no borders, and where the crypto criminals avoid the rules because this is an unregulated Wild West. But it's not just an unregulated Wild West, it's the wild North, East, and South. And thank God now we have an administration that is taking it seriously. And you may know that within the last 24 hours, the Senate passed the Bipartisan Genius Act, Senate 1582, that implements common sense regulations in an effort to make America the crypto capital of the world and to protect victims. So under my leadership, with the support of President Trump and Attorney General Bondi, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia is going to be taking a leading role in the fight against crypto confidence scams. And we are partnering with all our great law enforcement partners here. And we're going to seize and forfeit the stolen funds and rip them from the hands of those foreign-based criminals, all with the eye of making the victim whole again. And finally, let me say the president has made it clear that crypto is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. This could not have happened without the incredible efforts of the Secret Service, the FBI, the Computer Crimes and Intellectual Property section of the Department of Justice. We will continue to root out the bad actors, and we will find those criminals who are taking advantage of unwitting victims who don't know what they're getting involved in. And if you're using the cryptocurrency market to steal, we're going to come after you, we're going to strip you of your ill-gotten gains, and you will be held accountable.
Okay.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm still not a believer of it. Now, I know the president is, but...
yeah, he is.
Yeah. So it has to be regulated, and that's the point.
Yeah.
This is the classic thing here that'll tell you that it has to be regulated. Right. Well, at that point...
Yeah.
All right. It's great to have a currency based on nothing other than popularity.
Was this much different than the stock market?
I don't know. Yeah, speaking of crypto, we'll be right back.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Okay, welcome back. 23 minutes before the hour. Of course, quite the last 24 hours, especially in Israel. They have now been hit in the hospital. Been hit in a hospital there by missiles coming out of Iran. So let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. We begin this half hour in the Middle East. After 2 missile strikes this morning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing the full price from the dictators in Tehran. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, Netanyahu's vow comes after Iranian missiles hit a hospital in southern Israel and residential buildings in Tel Aviv.
The Soroka Hospital in Beersheba took a direct hit. One of the doctors there stated, "Just yesterday, we evacuated the old surgical building that took a direct hit today. It's a great miracle." As Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz put it, these are the most severe kinds of war crimes, and Khamenei will be held accountable for his crimes. Katz described Israel's new goal, destabilize the Ayatollah regime. Meanwhile, in Washington, President Trump has approved the Iran attack plans, but is holding off on giving the orders, according to the Wall Street Journal. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump says he's not looking for a fight with Iran.
But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
In an address to the nation Wednesday night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked the president for standing by Israel and told Israelis the goals of the war.
We've embarked on this operation to eliminate 2 existing threats to the state of Israel, the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat. We're moving step by step towards eliminating these threats. We control the skies over Tehran. We're striking the Ayatollah's regime with tremendous force. We're striking the nuclear weapons, the missiles, the headquarters, the symbols of the regime.
Despite the attacks, Ayatollah Khamenei remains defiant.
The Iranian nation will stand firmly against the war imposed on it, as it has done so far. It will also stand firmly against imposed peace. The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone aiming to impose anything on it.
Yet the Israel Defense Forces are now expanding their target list.
During the strikes, we struck more than 20 targets around Tehran. These targets belong to the regime's military industries and security apparatus.
That includes the regime's centers of power. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz told the Iranian people it's time to rise up and overthrow Khamenei's regime. He said symbols of power are being bombed and collapsing, from the Broadcasting Authority and soon other targets, as masses of residents flee. This is how dictatorships fall. Iranian-American journalist Lisa Dattari tells CBN's Raj Nair the people of Iran have long endured a brutal dictatorship.
This is
not just since October 7th. This is not just since Friday. This is something that has been building up in the Iranian people for 46 years. They're sick and tired of it. You know, to see someone who is hanged because of a Facebook post or because they are a journalist or an athlete or a dancer. This is the life and the reality that they have been living.
Earlier this week, Netanyahu told Israeli Channel 14, history is being made.
We're at a historic turning point, and everyone is slowly turning to realize it. After victory over Iran, a new Middle East will emerge.
Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. Chris, great to see you. Tell us why Israeli leaders are so upset about today's missile strikes.
Well, Wendy, what they're saying is that Khamenei is giving instructions to fire into the Israeli home front. That's why the Soroka hospital was hit today, as well as that neighborhood in Tel Aviv. On the other hand, Israel is targeting military and strategic sites, and they're actually giving evacuation orders to the people of Iran to get away from different buildings that may be attacked. It's something they've done in Gaza, something they've done in Lebanon, and they're doing it in Iran right now. On the other hand, Khamenei is deliberately targeting civilians, and then it's sending out misinformation. In fact, they sent us some information that under the hospital that was hit this morning, that Israel actually had a military infrastructure. So that is the main thing, that Khamenei is expanding its attacks on the Israeli civilians.
Chris, Israel attacked the nuclear reactor at Iraq. Why is this significant?
Well, that is significant, Wendy, because it eliminates another pathway that Iran could use to produce weapons, and it would be weapons-grade plutonium. What Iraq offered was an alternative to highly enriched uranium and building nuclear weapons, and it was called the Iraq Heavy Water Reactor. It was designed to use natural uranium and then produce plutonium as a byproduct, and that's a key material for nuclear weapons. Iran said it was just using it for medical isotopes, but it really can produce that plutonium. It's hard to monitor, hard to reverse, and it can be concealed. So all of that was one reason why Iraq was hit today by Iranian jets. Just one more effort to make sure that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, whether it's through enriched uranium or plutonium for a nuclear bomb.
All right. Well, let me ask you one quick question while we move on. Why is it only the United States and Israel are held to war crimes?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Nobody else is.
Yeah.
And this is a clear violation.
Yes.
And is a war crime, and yet, anyway, that's just a rhetorical question out there.
Yeah, well, and especially when you look back at what started this whole thing. What happened to Hamas and their war crimes?
See? No, it's always the other guy.
Okay, well, on a lighter note.
Yeah, lighter note.
It almost fell to the wrecking ball until public uproar saved it, and it was preserved rather than destroyed. But it was on this day in history that construction began on the Grand Central Terminal.
On the morning of June 19th, 1903, the heart of Manhattan rumbled, not from trains, but from the first strikes of hammers and the grind of steel as construction began on what would become one of New York City's greatest landmarks, Grand Central Terminal. Originally built in 1871 by railroad tycoon Cornelius Commodore Vanderbilt, the station was then known as Grand Central Depot. It served three major railroads and quickly became the beating heart of the city's transportation network. But by 1900, the rapid surge in rail traffic overwhelmed the aging structure. It was rebuilt and renamed Grand Central Station, but even that couldn't keep pace with the city's explosive growth. So in 1903, a bold new vision took place, one that would span 48 acres, include dozens of tracks, and eventually become a crown jewel of American transportation. As dust rose into the summer sky, few could imagine that this ambitious project would result in the elegant Beaux-Arts terminal that today welcomes millions. Though popularly called Grand Central Station, its official name is Grand Central Terminal, and in 1967, it earned its rightful place as a designated New York City landmark.
There you go.
Great place.
If you've ever been there, you'll never forget it.
If you go downstairs, there's one of the great oyster bars.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Can you feel it? It's the rhythm of a gospel song. Oh, once you choose it, you can't lose it.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
How can Christian parents train their kids to know and follow God's design for sexuality in a culture that increasingly rejects it?
Join us as we uncover the damaging misinformation being fed to your children on sexuality and gender identity, and learn effective strategies for grounding them in biblical truth with confidence and grace.
Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Hi, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. This is Juneteenth Day, so most of businesses, governments, banks, and all that will be closed today. Yesterday I had Leighton Gray on from Canada. He's quite a guy. He's an attorney. He's really well known up in Canada. And we talked about the fact that Canada still has a border problem. And I said, well, you know, a year ago in May, 64,000 people came across the southern border in America, and this May, 0. Mm-hmm. And Canada just passed a new border bill, and he explains it. Listen to this.
Firstly, isn't it astonishing that Donald Trump could do in one day what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris said could not be done? Yeah. But it just goes to show if you make the right decisions, how they can be put into action. Mm-hmm. The bill you're talking about is of great concern to Canadians. It's called Bill C-2, and it's a bit of a Trojan horse. I've taken a close look at this bill, and it's rather horrifying for Canadians. Although it pretends to be aimed at securing Canada's border, which is of great concern to people like Kash Patel, because unfortunately, bad actors and things like fentanyl are still entering the United States through Canada, through the northern border. This new bill does very little to secure the border, but it does have some nefarious parts to it. For example, it's going to usher in digital currency in Canada. It actually makes it a criminal offense, if you can believe it, for anyone in Canada to complete a cash transaction of $10,000 or more. That's becoming criminal. Apparently, this is somehow related to border security. It has implications for other forms of legislation that exist in Canada. For example, our passport holders. In order to renew your passport, Canadians will have to provide all sorts of detailed personal information about their actual residency, and they may be denied renewal of their passports. And this is all connected back to Bill C-2. So unfortunately, like everything else that this Liberal government does, it says that it's doing something with the left hand, and then it does something else with the right. very similar to Bill C-63, which is the hate speech law. It's supposed to be aimed at protecting Canadians from disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech. But the actual boots on the ground net effect of it is to bring into Canada, in existence in Canada, much like we're seeing in Great Britain, where people are being arrested and imprisoned for years based upon Facebook posts. Which the government doesn't like because it challenges some of their narratives. So unfortunately, this legislation that the Liberals have conceived is going to do very little to prevent the flow of bad people and drugs into the United States. And I don't think that's going to change until Mark Carney and his government abandon their allegiance to the concept of globalism, one of the tenets of which, as you know, is open borders.
Okay, very interesting. So they passed a camouflage immigration bill. Yeah. By the way, he's in Alberta, and he believes it's highly possible, no longer a rumor, that Alberta will go independent.
Really?
Yeah, and they've actually talked to the administration about it, and the administration says, okay, you need to go independent first. Okay? It's not that we just reach up there and annex them in and make them State 51.
Yeah.
They need to become independent from Canada first, and then they can talk about, borders and security and military protection and stuff like that. Yeah. But Alberta is saying no to Carney and all of his nonsense. And so Canada's in a real struggle. Oh, yeah. A real ideological struggle. Yeah. And when you got a globalist running the country, we'll see what happens. But he's there by a narrow margin. It's highly possible the next election cycle he's booted out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He mentioned the social media posts there, people being prosecuted for it. And that at least reminded me of something I heard on the way in. It looks like the administration and our government is ready to start up the student visa program again. They put a halt on everything. But there's a little stipulation that all people that go through the student visa program from foreign countries now are going to have their social media accounts reviewed. To see where they're. How about you know what? Because what we do is we see these people come into this country. They get on college campuses, then they set up tents and protest. They harass Jewish students and such, and then they go on their social media posts and they see this. They've been espousing this poison for a long time. So let's look at it first before we let them in.
I saw a cute cartoon yesterday.
What?
It showed a lady, kind of an elderly lady, coming up to a window, and above the window it says student loan.
Okay.
And she said, I'd like a cute one that can do gardening.
There we go. I love it. All right. Okay. Well, I've always been very quick to highlight any story that extols the health benefits of drinking coffee. And I have another one, except on this one, you better hold the cream and sugar.
Okay.
You might not drink coffee for its health benefits, but it turns out your daily cup could be doing more than just waking you up. A new study from Tufts University published in the Journal of Nutrition suggests that drinking 1 to 2 cups of caffeinated coffee per day is linked to a lower risk of death from all causes, including heart disease. But there's a catch. The health benefits seem to depend on what you put in your coffee. Researchers analyzed data from over 46,000 U.S. adults and found that black coffee, or coffee with only small amounts of sugar or saturated fat, was associated with up to a 17% lower risk of death. But when people added a lot of sugar or high-fat creamers, the benefits disappeared. For reference, low sweetener meant about a half a teaspoon per cup, and low saturated fat equaled around a tablespoon of cream or a few tablespoons of milk. Drinking more than 3 cups a day didn't add further benefits, and there was no clear link between coffee and reduced cancer deaths. Also, decaf didn't show the same positive associations, possibly due to lower consumption overall. So you might be getting a bit of a health boost, but it means keeping your coffee simple.
Can you keep your coffee simple?
No. But, coffee in America has turned into a delivery service for anything sweet.
It has a tendency to do that.
It's called chaos.
Yeah, but, it's true. And people are lining up for it. But, there's something about that black coffee in the morning. You smell it coming down the hallway.
Oh, I know.
And you know what?
I miss our machine out there. We got to hook our machine back up.
I think it's one of the greatest inventions of all is the automatic timer on a coffee maker.
All right, good stuff. I take with you today out of the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, verse 30. Love the Lord your God with 10% of your heart, 3% of your soul, 1% of your mind, and 40% of your strength. Oh, sorry about that. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. All means all. Mm-hmm. Last time I looked it up in the dictionary, all means all. So there you go. Check it out. All right, stick around. We got some great guests, some more news, and a beautiful day. And be careful out there. Most everything is closed except for your sugar kiosk coffee machine place.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning rogue river scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
He needed to get to the hospital.
And just knew that, this was getting worse, progressively worse.
But there wasn't much hope.
I would put his statistics at dying on the way down to see me, probably around 70-80%.
Then, in the middle of surgery, they made a startling discovery.
And while I couldn't speak and I couldn't open my eyes, I felt God's peace.
Thursday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV. Cliff Connectley travels across America to give an answer to questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
So one of the reasons I believe that God exists.
Join him for Give Me an Answer, weekdays on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Now notice when Jesus called his disciples, he never hid from them the fact that to follow him meant suffering, persecution, and death. We have a great deal of what someone has called cheap grace. Easy to follow Christ. Easy to get in the church. In Jesus' day, he called them to suffering. He didn't call them to a playground. He called them to a battlefield. He called them to war, spiritual war. And he said, you're going to suffer, and you're going to be wounded, and you're going to die in my cause. Because the world is going to reject me. This world that's dominated by evil and sin will reject me.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Get the day's top news from a Christian worldview. CBN Newswatch, weekdays at noon and 4:30 on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. This is Jerry Bilden's morning office.
Yeah.
And we get to come in and sit down with him, share coffee, and kind of under the table bang his right leg.
Yeah, keep me awake.
Today, this your first day not wearing your
Yeah, it's my first day on the loose I've been walking around in the house a little bit without the cast, or the boot cast is basically what it is. So, but today I ventured out. I jumped in the truck, that 6-speed manual gear, and said, I can drive this thing. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does Pam know you're doing this?
No. Okay. I left the boot out where she could see it, though. I haven't heard from her yet. I thought, she's going to say something about this.
You know, you have 2 arms and a left leg left. And she knows it. She could take you down for a long time.
You know, I got to tell you the truth. We had a discussion last night about the decisions we make.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever have that conversation with Peggy, and you know something bad is coming up. And she brought up the decision about skiing in the fog on a Black Diamond section in the trees over a unseen cornice. It's like, how did this come back up? The decisions we make. Okay, well, let's decide to talk about something else.
You want to know why it came back up?
Well, yeah, I do.
Well, you're dumber than I thought you were.
Yep. I have to agree with that.
All right, anyway, good morning to you. It's also Juneteenth Day, which is the recognition of the end of slavery, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of offices, government offices will be closed today. Banks will be closed today. So post office, things like that will not be happening today. However, the recognition of that as far as having celebrations and things like that, all that seems to have been really calmed down. A lot of companies say, no, we're not going to pay the extra dollars to have an event for this. We'll just let it be a day on the calendar, and that's kind of what it is.
And we acknowledge it.
We acknowledge it.
Absolutely. It's an important day, but we continue to work on.
There you go.
But some don't. And with that in mind, you know, it's Juneteenth, but some are slowing down today because it is World Sauntering Day. So, in fact, try moseying around on this day. It is a day that counters the attention given to jogging and encourages people to stroll, ramble, and wander. So if you are so inclined, go for a little saunter, go for a stroll. We know that it is healthy. And there's a point in your life, too, that you don't want to go jogging anyway. You just want to do something low impact, but you still want to be active. So get out there and start walking around. And if you have a crutch or a cane, like some I know, use it. Anyway, it's National Watch Day, and I'm sauntering. You know, everybody hears me when I come click. Click. Yeah. Everybody says good morning to me before I'm even in sight.
Well, you went from sticks, plural, to stick.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It is National Watch Day, and watches date back to the 15th or 16th century. And at that time, they only had an hour hand. It wasn't until the 17th century that minutes and seconds were added to the features of watches. Obviously, became important at that time. But they were designed primarily for women. And men used pocket watches. That was the masculine thing to do. It showed importance, and you know, you could display your wealth in the type of pocket watch that you whipped out. But that all started to change during World War II for men, specifically soldiers, because of the pocket watch was impractical for wearing in their uniform. They couldn't, you know, there probably wasn't a pocket watch pocket in the uniform, so guys started wearing wristwatches, and the rest, as they say, is history. And now, you know, we all wear, well, you know, there are still regular and beautiful watches out there, but more and more people are going to fitness watches. You know, whether it be an Apple Watch or whatever. Yeah. And obviously the technology is with you. You know, you leave your phone behind.
Well, I have to say, I've had a lot of watches in my day, but this is the best one.
Yeah, it is.
It tells you just about everything.
Well, including you missed a call.
Yeah, and it tells you when to stand. But there's a new feature I discovered.
What?
Because those of us that get up so early, I get home in the afternoon and it says you have 8% battery life left.
And have you identified which battery they're talking about?
Well, I thought it was mine. I'm actually out working the battery life of my watch. Oh, well.
Have you talked to anybody through your phone on your watch?
Yeah, it's a little difficult.
Yeah.
But it does work. You can answer.
It works really well. And you know what? It works better for the person on the other end than it does for you, because it's a small speaker in here, but it's got a good microphone. If you keep it here, people don't know if you're on your watch or your phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So hang in there. It's also National Garfield the Cat Day.
All right.
And obviously celebrating the start of Garfield the Cat, syndicated in 2013 in roughly 2,500 newspapers. It set the Guinness World Record for being the world's most widely syndicated comic strip. And Garfield the Cat, I'm sure, would saunter. He would never run.
No.
Absolutely
In fact, he'd probably sit down and negotiate.
Yeah,
He'd pull a Trump on you. He'd want a deal.
Yeah, I told them they should have negotiated. They should have taken the deal.
Yeah,
they should have had that last week.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. And also, we're looking at snails.
Oh.
Do you eat snails?
I had one time.
Yeah.
Escargot.
Yeah.
And just some things that salt and garlic just can't fix.
And it comes at a higher price tag. But did you know that snails usually have between 10,000 and 15,000 teeth, and some have up to 25,000 teeth? They're generally organized in rows of about 100 teeth per row, and there may be up to 25 rows. But check this out. Aside from their shocking number of teeth, snails can sleep for up to 3 years without waking up. During this time, they'll go into a state of hibernation where their heart rate and their breathing slow down. When they eventually wake up, they might have some memory loss or be completely unaware of what happened in the past few years. How did they get that information? Did they talk to them? Did they run a survey of snails?
I don't know. They put a chip in them?
Yeah, what is that? How do you know? I don't know. What? When I go to sleep, I don't know what's happened for the last few years.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, well, the older you get, you just forget. You don't remember anything. You know, that's an interesting. I didn't know that they had all those teeth. That explains why they can do so much damage in a garden.
In fact, I was looking at footage here for snails to do B-roll during that, and I got this one video where a snail was eating a cucumber. I've never seen such aggressive eating on a little insect or whatever that thing is. It was amazing, just going after it.
So it can eat 4 or 5 times its size?
Apparently. Yeah. Anyway, so enjoy it.
Okay, well, he never operates at a snail's pace, I'll tell you that. But he does do the weather here.
A look at our Thursday weather, thanks to Grange Co-op. A cool front is moving our way, but today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny with increasing clouds and daytime highs in the low to mid-70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny with increasing clouds through the day and high temperatures in the mid-70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a northwest wind 5 to 8 miles per hour. Mostly sunny today across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and warm with highs in the low to mid 90s. Mostly sunny and breezy along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures in the mid-60s in Coos Bay, near 62 in Port Orford, mid-50s in Brookings, and near 60 in Crescent City with winds up to 33 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, sunny with high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Grants Pass and Ashland and low 80s in Medford. In Klamath Falls, sunny and breezy with a high near 82 and gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Into Northern California, sunny with a high in the mid-80s in Wairika, sunny and breezy from Redding with a high in the mid-90s, through Chico near 93 and Sacramento near 87 with a southwest wind gusting to 24 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with daytime highs near 80 in Santa Rosa and 77 in Napa, sunny and breezy in mid-60s in San Francisco with a west wind gusting to 32 miles per hour, and today in San Jose, sunny in mid-70s. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there's a look of our southern Oregon Valley, better known as the Rogue Valley, and some high clouds as we see the change of weather coming our way, which is an indication we could see some rain late Friday, Saturday. But it also shows that everything is dry. And we had some bad fires over the last couple of days. We'll talk about one that happened yesterday afternoon late. And so please be very careful out there.
Well, good morning. It is time for some encouragement as Ann Graham Lotz shares some memories of visiting her father later in his life.
After my mother went to heaven, my father was in his house for some time, and he wasn't by himself because he had caregivers, but I would go up to see him. I live about 3.5 hours away, so I would drive up to see him. When I'd walk into the kitchen, on the counter was my favorite coffee mug and my favorite coffee that I like to drink in the morning. And I'd open the refrigerator, there was the favorite yogurt I like to have for breakfast. I'd go upstairs and beside my bed would be a vase of flowers. and a note from Daddy that would say, "Welcome home, darling, I love you." And my daddy did those things, and yes, I know as he got older, he had help doing those things, but he wanted me to know when I came home, I was expected, I was welcomed. He wanted me to know he loved me and that I had come home because I'm the Father's child. So listen to me. You get it? So heaven is a place that's prepared in detail out of a heart of love just for you. And Jesus knows the colors that you like the best, the landscape you enjoy, the music you want to hear, the friends that you want to be with. And of course, the friends have to put their faith in Jesus to be in this wonderful place. But he's preparing it so that when you walk through heaven's gates, you will know you've been expected, that you are loved, you are welcomed, you've come home, you are the Father's child. Praise God. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Only she could describe that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. All right, good morning to you. 11 past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. And, within the last few hours, Iran has launched a missile and has hit a hospital inside Israel. They're in areas outside of Jerusalem. This is significant. They're saying roughly 69 people were injured. The Prime Minister is retaliating with 20 jets that now have been dispatched to go back over to Iran and to continue to take out missile sites and things like this. This particular attack, I think, is I'm not going to call it a game changer, but I am going to call it continued verification of what they need to do. Mm-hmm. This continually solidifies what they have to do to eliminate this in the future. Now, this is, in all purposes, this is a war crime.
Yeah.
But they'll never be held accountable for that. That's a whole other can of worms. Okay, but so we'll see what's going on with that. In the meantime, the president's talking about, look, he understands what's going on here. He's reluctant to get into a long-term war with Iran. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, look how long we were in Afghanistan.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
And all of that, only because we had leadership that prolonged it, that didn't settle it. Okay? So he doesn't want to do that again. But at the same time, he's got his back up against the wall because America has the one piece of equipment that could really kind of finish the job. But in the meantime, the press is asking interesting questions to the president, and he has an interesting way of dealing with interesting questions. Here it is.
You've been answered questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit.
Okay, so if you read between the lines here, it's pretty significant. No more talking.
Yeah.
And the Wall Street Journal reported late yesterday that the president has made up his mind to attack Iran, but did not give the final say to go. Mm-hmm. In other words, he's made up his mind to do it, but he hasn't said when. So that's reporting by the Wall Street Journal. Now, part of this is the president said in the last couple of days, you touch an American and we're going to touch you like you've never been touched before. Well, guess what? Americans have been killed by Iran forces and proxies for quite some time.
Yeah.
And how many Americans were taken hostage and killed on October 7th?
Exactly.
What more touching do you need?
Right.
So anyway, we'll see what happens. But I can't help but think that after this hospital attack, that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is probably on the phone with the president saying, okay, Mr. President, we got to time this out now.
Yeah, and we were discussing whether this was collateral damage or if this hospital was targeted, and then it turns out that Iran has released a statement saying that Israel had military complex underneath the hospital. That's why they did it. So apparently it was targeted, but that is such a stretch for Israel to be putting a military complex under a hospital. That'd be taking a play out of the Hamas playbook.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Look, the way the United States will be pulled into this militarily will be using the B-2 bomber delivering the bunker buster bomb into Fordo, which is the last place and the most extensive place of nuclear development.
Yeah.
There's about 4 caves in there that are like 200 and almost 300 feet into the mountain, and only these bunker buster bombs can go that depth and do the damage.
And you mentioned plural there. Do we know, if we do pull the trigger on this, is it going to require a bunker buster bomb or bombs to do the job?
That's a good question. I don't know. I do know that Israel now is trying to soften the area with what they got. But they have which is somewhat of a mystery to me. We'll maybe learn more about this when we check in with CBN Newswatch. It would seem to me, with the precision that Israel has with its intelligence, why can't they knock out these missile delivery systems? And one of the answers is they're mobile.
Okay.
And they're moving all the time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens on that. All right, the other story that kind of hit the news yesterday, 2 other quick stories. The Karen Reed murder case. It was interesting to me that this case got so much attention. And the first case ended in a jury had, what do you call it?
A hung jury?
Hung jury.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What it is that she apparently was drinking and hit and killed her boyfriend with a car, who happened to be a police officer. They said it was hit and run. Some say it wasn't hit and run. She was there. And so the question is, was this intentional? What, everything else? Bottom line is, her second trial, she gets acquitted for that crime, but was held responsible for a lesser crime of operating a vehicle under the influence of a blood alcohol level of 0.08%. So this is over. This is big. But man, it got a lot of attention. Wow, I was just absolutely amazed.
And I just don't know enough about the case to even really comment.
Well, I know about the case. We kind of go, okay, as bad as this is, why is this such national news? I don't know. There's something I didn't get it. Okay, last night was not a good night for Elon. They're out there at the launch ramp in Texas of SpaceX doing some tests on a rocket, and it blew up. Look at this. And there it goes. It exploded. The miracle of all miracles is nobody was hurt.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. But this thing blew up. And so this is a bad day at the office. And I don't know what you do with this. And we don't know how and why it blew up.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I would hope we take serious what space travel. You have to use rockets to get up there.
Yeah.
Basically, you're on top of a bomb.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And you got Blue Origin from Bezos. You know, he's taking people to the edge
for
a
carnival ride, right?
Yeah, it's a joyride.
Yeah.
And then you got SpaceX getting people out of the space station, which is all great.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how dangerous this stuff really is.
It still is. It was in the beginning, because that's reminiscent of the early days of NASA.
Yeah.
Where they couldn't get many things off of the launch pad.
So, I guess I'm just curious. I'm glad nobody was hurt. At least we don't know of it at the moment, but they're saying nobody was hurt. How much of a financial loss is a blow-up?
That was the first thing I thought. How much did that rocket cost?
What'd that cost?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is that 4 Teslas gone? What is this?
Notice it wasn't battery operated.
I was going to say, is that a Tesla pickup going in the wrong direction? What is going on here, you know? By the way, I've seen more of those Tesla trucks around town.
Yeah.
They're big and ugly. I didn't realize they're that big.
Well, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Well,
Perry.
I ain't beholden that. not my beholdment. Blessed be the beholdment. That ain't me. We'll be right back.
Put your gold in an envelope, mail it. Hopefully you get a check. Nah. Father and son jewelry, bring your gold in, we weigh it, we check it, we make you the offer.
Or turn your something old into something new. Whether it's an idea, a picture, or a piece you want to duplicate, we can melt it down and make it for you.
If you find your perfect piece in store, trade your something old for something new, and you always get a little extra.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
Experience evangelism like never before. Way of the Master, an award-winning reality TV show tackling hard questions and bold street witnessing that will leave you inspired. Watch Thursdays and Fridays on theDove TV.
All right, welcome back. Happy Thursday, Juneteenth Day, which is the recognition of the end of slavery in the United States. And so a lot of offices and agencies will be closed today. The banks, the schools, the post office, all that. The schools are already out, I guess. So, hey, a couple backyard things. We had a fairly significant fire breakout in the Upper Applegate yesterday afternoon. And it quickly went to 300 acres. And then there was a report at one time it was 400 to 500 acres. But at the end of the day, they were able to contain it at 350 acres. And this is a combination of private land and BLM land. But I just want to say this. I don't know who was managing this fire. But I got to tell you, this was so well organized and done. This is the way you do it. They got on it. At one time, there was 5 airplanes and 3 helicopters fighting this fire. Mm-hmm. And I went on Duty Watch, which you can do, which is an app, and you can download the aviation part of it. And you can track the airplanes coming and going. And they stayed on it. Well, this morning they're still doing cleanup. But they really attacked this fire yesterday. And it's just a subtle reminder for us in these areas that live where we've had a lot of dry land and we've had a lot of fires. Mm-hmm. And you hate to see this. I mean, it's mm-hmm. You just cringe when this happens. And on top of this yesterday, it was very windy yesterday afternoon. But I don't know, again, I don't know the agencies involved, but it was so well coordinated, so well attacked on the ground and in the air, and the troops and everything else. And then, of course, they had people overnight monitoring it and on it this morning. I just want to say, be careful. And I don't know who was involved in all this, but thank you. What a display of coordination.
Yeah, does this indicate somewhat of a policy change in attacking quickly and getting after these things? Because we've seen some delays in the past.
It certainly appears to be. Yeah. I think the new attitude is let's get on them and talk about managing them later.
Yeah.
Whereas before you let them go and then you set up management teams and you have meetings and then you do all this stuff and you try to figure out what you're going to do and you make sure you bring in camps and all this. Well, look, I understand all that, but come on. In the meantime, the thing's burning like crazy, especially if there's a wind out there.
Yes.
They brought in aircraft from outside In fact, I forget to look out there this morning and see what's parked out there. We had a helicopter over here at the Helicopter Express, which is taken over for Erickson, and they had this one out there for a couple of days. And last night, boom, it was over at the fire.
Wow.
So thank you. Thank you. We're really encouraged to see this kind of response. One other quick thing is, the Oregon legislature is still in session and will be until around the end of next week, so hold on to your wallets. A lot of stuff coming out of there. But the Oregon Farm Bureau yesterday, its members are raising really strong concerns about targeted immigration enforcement in agricultural communities. Now, the reason I bring this story up, because we've talked about it, and the president has already put a pause on ICE going into farm and hospitality facilities, agriculture. And they did have an incident in Oregon when we were up in Newburgh. A vineyard management business owner and one of the employees were arrested on the spot. Well, and you got one where it was in a meatpacking plant. So here's the deal, folks, and I've been ringing this bell. We have got to figure out a way to come up with a redefined working permit.
Yeah, migrant workers program.
Yeah,
yes.
some kind. We've had one, but it's been, I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, I don't know what the state
I don't
of
even
it
know what
is.
the conditions are anymore.
Right, it's been around for a long time, but you're right, I don't know what the state of it
We're
is.
going to have to figure out a way that those that want to come in and do this work that nobody else wants to do, that we can document them in such a way where they can come and go or be on some kind of path towards citizenship.
Yeah.
But I would say that this is huge, and it's huge to our industry, and it's going to have a huge impact in agriculture. So it does spark modernization of agriculture, where you're going to see more automation, but that's going to wipe out the small guy. So somewhere in the middle of all this, we still need humans out there, and when it's harvest time, you can't wait.
Yeah, right.
When that grape is right, it's got to come off the vine, and so hopefully we can figure this out. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right.
Let's take a look at Wall Street for
No, we're not gonna.
Oh, we're not going to do Wall Street.
We're not doing that
So
today.
Preston, you get to take the day off.
That's right. We're the ones
Go over
working.
to your wife's ice cream shop. He has the Smart Lawn.
Yeah.
But his wife opened this little ice cream shop over in the Twin Peaks Shopping Center there in Central Point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chocolate mint chip.
All right.
Yeah, it's
All
good
right.
stuff.
Okay, well.
You could put it in a milkshake.
Okay, I'll do that too.
Yeah, okay.
All right, well, thank you, but no stocks today. Well, we were looking at the Democrats at the time that were apparently covering for then President Joe Biden, saying that he was at the top of his game. We heard such phrases as he's sharp as a tack, but things have turned since the last election and since his withdrawal from the race. So at Wednesday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Eric Schmidt played a video of Democrats claiming that then President Biden was at the top of his game.
Thank you for those opening statements. The minority did not call any witnesses for today's hearing. They have chosen to ignore the hearing as they chose to ignore President Biden's mental decline. But we do have a short video of some previous statements from Biden administration officials and Democratic Party officials telling us not to believe our lying eyes. We can play the video.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has. I say his age is an asset. Aha! He's wise. Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
And his experience, because of his age and his wisdom, has been invaluable to this country.
A lot of countries, people who've been in office a longer period of time are praised for their wisdom.
I have seen a lot of 72-year-olds not as capable as this 80-year-old.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in it.
Right-wing propaganda.
Well, if you watch this hearing, they brought up the stats.
Okay.
Of how many auto pins versus live pins.
Yeah.
It was so bad that the Democrats, as they were being questioned, literally got up and walked out of the meeting.
Of course.
So they have no defense, and they're going to investigate the auto pins. And so anyway, I don't think that what you just heard, that there's an American out there that believes this.
Yes, right.
So the question is, why are we going down this road? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay, did he obligate the United States on something that he had no business, that somebody else made the obligation under an auto pin and not him? It's worth finding out, especially when it comes to immunities.
Yeah. Oh, boy, yeah.
You know, so I don't know, kind of crazy. Wow. Okay, well, we don't have anything today. Do we have any food today?
Yeah, what,
escargot?
Snails. We're eating snails today. And all their teeth.
So they got 20,000 teeth. They can eat 15 times their size.
Yeah.
And taste good?
That's our appetizer.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are two of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960.
Welcome back, and of course the Middle East is really on pins and needles this morning as Iran launched some missiles over the last 12 hours and hit a hospital. And believe me, that's not going over well. So let's check in with CBN News Watch.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Wendy Griffith. We begin this half hour in the Middle East. After 2 missile strikes this morning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing the full price from the dictators in Tehran. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, Netanyahu's vow comes after Iranian missiles hit a hospital in southern Israel and residential buildings in Tel Aviv.
The Soroka Hospital in Beersheba took a direct hit. One of the doctors there stated, "Just yesterday, we evacuated the old surgical building that took a direct hit today. It's a great miracle." As Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz put it, these are the most severe kinds of war crimes, and Khamenei will be held accountable for his crimes. Katz described Israel's new goal, destabilize the Ayatollah regime. Meanwhile, in Washington, President Trump has approved the Iran attack plans, but is holding off on giving the orders, according to the Wall Street Journal. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump says he's not looking for a fight with Iran.
But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
In an address to the nation Wednesday night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked the president for standing by Israel and told Israelis the goals of the war.
We've embarked on this operation to eliminate 2 existing threats to the state of Israel, the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat. We're moving step by step towards eliminating these threats. We control the skies over Tehran. We're striking the Ayatollah's regime with tremendous force. We're striking the nuclear weapons, the missiles, the headquarters, the symbols of the regime.
Despite the attacks, Ayatollah Khamenei remains defiant.
The Iranian nation will stand firmly against the war imposed on it, as it has done so far. It will also stand firmly against imposed peace. The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone aiming to impose anything on it.
Yet the Israel Defense Forces are now expanding their target list.
During the strikes, we struck more than 20 targets around Tehran. These targets belong to the regime's military industries and security apparatus.
That includes the regime's centers of power. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz told the Iranian people it's time to rise up and overthrow Khamenei's regime. He said symbols of power are being bombed and collapsing, from the Broadcasting Authority and soon other targets, as masses of residents flee. This is how dictatorships fall. Iranian-American journalist Lisa Dattari tells CBN's Raj Nair the people of Iran have long endured a brutal dictatorship.
This is not just since October 7th. This is not just since Friday. This is something that has been building up in the Iranian people for 46 years. They're sick and tired of it. You know, to see someone who is hanged because of a Facebook post or because they are a journalist or an athlete or a dancer. This is the life and the reality that they have been living.
Earlier this week, Netanyahu told Israeli Channel 14, history is being made.
We're at a historic turning point, and everyone is slowly turning to realize it. After victory over Iran, a new Middle East will emerge.
Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. Chris, great to see you. Tell us why Israeli leaders are so upset about today's missile strikes.
Well, Wendy, what they're saying is that Khamenei is giving instructions to fire into the Israeli home front. That's why the Soroka Hospital was hit today, as well as that neighborhood in Tel Aviv. On the other hand, Israel is targeting military and strategic sites, and they're actually giving evacuation orders to the people of Iran to get away from different buildings that may be attacked. It's something they've done in Gaza, something they've done in Lebanon, and they're doing it in Iran right now. On the other hand, Khamenei is deliberately targeting civilians, and then it's sending out misinformation. In fact, they sent us some information that under the hospital that was hit this morning, that Israel actually had a military infrastructure. So that is the main thing, that Khamenei is expanding its attacks on the Israeli civilians.
Chris, Israel attacked the nuclear reactor at Iraq. Why is this significant?
Well, that is significant, Wendy, because it eliminates another pathway that Iran could use to produce weapons, and it would be weapons-grade plutonium. What Iraq offered was an alternative to highly enriched uranium and building nuclear weapons. And it was called the Iraq Heavy Water Reactor. It was designed to use natural uranium and then produce plutonium as a byproduct. And that's a key material for nuclear weapons. Iran said it was just using it for medical isotopes, but it really can produce that plutonium. It's hard to monitor, hard to reverse, and it can be concealed. So all of that was one reason why Iraq was hit today by Iranian jets. Just one more effort to make sure that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, whether it's through enriched uranium or plutonium for a nuclear bomb.
All right, so I don't know. I think we're going to see within hours some kind of a decision from the president. Mm-hmm. Bombing a hospital is pretty much a trigger point in so many ways, and so we'll see what happens with this. But yeah. I think we're heading down that road. Mm-hmm. So prayers for good decisions, you know. Yeah. All right, good morning to you. Well, here we go. He likes escargot. As long as you put a lot of hot sauce on it. Here he is.
A look at our Thursday weather, thanks to Grange Co-op. A cool front is moving our way, but today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny with increasing clouds and daytime highs in the low to mid-70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny with increasing clouds through the day and high temperatures in the mid-70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a northwest wind 5 to 8 miles per hour. Mostly sunny today across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and warm with highs in the low to mid 90s. Mostly sunny and breezy along the Oregon coast with daytime high temperatures in the mid-60s in Coos Bay, near 62 in Port Orford, mid-50s in Brookings, and near 60 in Crescent City with winds up to 33 miles per hour. In southern Oregon, sunny with high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Grants Pass and Ashland and low 80s in Medford. In Klamath Falls, sunny and breezy with a high near 82 and gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Into Northern California, sunny with a high in the mid-80s in Wairika, sunny and breezy from Redding with a high in the mid-90s, through Chico near 93 and Sacramento near 87 with a southwest wind gusting to 24 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with daytime highs near 80 in Santa Rosa and 77 in Napa, sunny and breezy in mid-60s in San Francisco with a west wind gusting to 32 miles per hour, and today in San Jose, sunny in mid-70s. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
All right, and there's a look of southern Oregon this morning. We have a weather change. You can see the clouds way out west. They're coming our way, and it'll keep the temperatures down, deliver maybe some moisture by the weekend. But look at the color. That is called dry, and we have some fires. So be very, very careful out there.
Please. Well, it almost fell to the wrecking ball. It was almost destroyed until the public got wind of it, and they were heard in their uproar. And so it was preserved, but it was on this day in history that construction began on the Grand Central Terminal. On the morning of June 19th, 1903, the heart of Manhattan rumbled, not from trains, but from the first strikes of hammers and the grind of steel as construction began on what would become one of New York City's greatest landmarks, Grand Central Terminal. Originally built in 1871 by railroad tycoon Cornelius Commodore Vanderbilt, the station was then known as Grand Central Depot. It served 3 major railroads and quickly became the beating heart of the city's transportation network. But by 1900, the rapid surge in rail traffic overwhelmed the aging structure. It was rebuilt and renamed Grand Central Station, but even that couldn't keep pace with the city's explosive growth. So in 1903, a bold new vision took place, one that would span 48 acres, include dozens of tracks, and eventually become a crown jewel of American transportation. As dust rose into the summer sky, few could imagine that this ambitious project would result in the elegant Beaux-Arts terminal that today welcomes millions. Though popularly called Grand Central Station, its official name is Grand Central Terminal, and in 1967, it earned its rightful place as a designated New York City landmark. With as Judy pointed out, I got a text, lots of tunnels with lots of eating opportunities. It's a huge complex, and what a beautiful, iconic building. Oh,
it is, and the trains still come and go.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting. It's just really fabulous, and we got stuck there. It's a long story, but we were in there, and we took a train out to the U.S. Open and came back and all
sure.
this.
Yeah.
So we're following the signs, and we end up downstairs in this oyster bar. Now, it's a bar. It's where they have all kinds of oysters and things.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm going to have oysters, Rockefeller.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Why not? It's worth going there just for that.
Yeah. My buddy James, he had homemade. It was made on the spot. Well, it was a fish soup thing. I'm trying to think of it. Clam chowder, excuse me. With fresh clams, and they make it and cook it there, and then they mix it with the cream and everything. And then they have this big brass pot with a handle on it, and they pull it down and pour it in your cup, or pour it in your bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well,
then you got to have the bread that goes with it. You know, it's everything you're not supposed to do. Your doctor's loving this moment.
All brought to you by Grand Central Station. Now, my grandpa from Northwood, North Dakota, came and visited Pam and I when we lived in New York. So we took him around the city and stuff, took him to Grand Central Terminal, took him in there, and we sat and just watched people. And people were coming and going and coming and going. And after a while, he looked and he says, "Yeah, but where's everybody going?"
That way.
I don't know, Grandpa, I have no idea.
Well, it's pretty impressive because if you hop on a train and you leave there, you're underground for a while, and then also, poof, you pop up. And away you go.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of good.
All right.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Will not be shaken. Jesus, firm foundation.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jetboat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
How can Christian parents train their kids to know and follow God's design for sexuality in a culture that increasingly rejects it?
Join us as we uncover the damaging misinformation being fed to your children on sexuality and gender identity, and learn effective strategies for grounding them in biblical truth with confidence and grace.
Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Okay, good morning to you. 11 minutes before the hour. Had Leighton Gray on. He does a podcast. He's from Canada. He's an attorney. In fact, he's ranked one of the top 50 attorneys in Canada.
Really?
He's quite the statesman. He's a strong Christian. In fact, his podcast is on the large Christian television network up there called the Miracle Channel. And I have to say, with the changes in Canada, Canada's got a lot of struggles going on right now. You know, Trudeau's gone. Carney's in. Carney is more of a globalist, one world guy.
Yeah.
A lot of issues up there. And so I asked him, I said, Leighton, from your perspective, Can you tell us the contrast of civil liberties between the United States and Canada, especially as it relates to religious freedom? And here's what he had to say.
To compare and contrast what's happening between the U.S. and Canada, I would put it this way. If you go back 5 years to what happened during COVID, both people in the U.S. and Canada experienced a very severe shock to our civil liberties and our individual freedoms during COVID through the lockdowns and things like vaccine mandates. However, what has happened in the United States is really COVID is largely over and a page has been turned. And really the turning point obviously was the election last November. And Donald Trump and his administration has taken the U.S. in an entirely different direction, one that's more aimed at nationalism than globalism. For Canada, what has happened since the COVID-19 pandemic is the Trudeau government and now the Carney government have actually begun a campaign that has ratcheted down. So we've seen a progressive reduction and infringement of our freedoms that's being enforced through legislation, through our courts. Our media is still government controlled, expressing false narratives. We're seeing all of that continue in Canada in a progression that has not stopped. And so that's really the main distinction that I think your audience needs to understand about what's going on in Canada versus the United States. And I actually represent in my practice some Christian broadcasters who are having trouble actually getting their licenses renewed because the government of Canada has imposed all sorts of woke DEI requirements of multiculturalism and so on and so forth, which, as you know, are offensive to fundamental principles of Christian theology that are deeply rooted and are biblical. And so, of course, no Christian practicing properly is racist, misogynist, or discriminatory in any way. That's not how our Lord viewed the human race. In fact, there's not a single hint of racism or anything of the like in the Gospels. But of course, this new woke religion, this secular religion, is all based upon identity politics, and it's a direct affront to Christianity. And when you see our Prime Minister going on television before millions of people saying that Muslim values are Canadian values, that gives you an idea of how deep this attack is upon Christianity in our country.
Muslim values are Canadian values? Yeah. What?
Yeah, it's this Carney, Prime Minister Carney, look, he's a globalist. I don't know where this is going to go. Alberta, now where he is from, Alberta is one of the provinces up there that's thinking seriously. In fact, it's more than a rumor. That they are giving serious consideration of becoming independent. Now, that would you think, oh, great, let's make them State 51. Okay, and the answer is no. What they want to do is become independent on their own and then see how that works, if they'd rather want to be annexed into the United States or not. But the movement is there. Carney has only been elected by a thin margin, so we have to see where this goes. But it's serious as a heart attack. Our UCB Canada organization up there, which is one of the largest Christian radio networks up there, is struggling with this nonsense. Really? And the regulations, I mean, I wrestle with a lot of stuff here, but boy, what they wrestle with up there, just on regulations alone, just drives you crazy, So there's a solution to this, and it's the same thing that's happening in Iran with these citizens. And there's somebody that we can really thank for our freedoms. Al Gore.
What? What?
He invented the internet.
Oh. Thank you, Al.
That was a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, it sure was.
Because the internet is allowing people to hear and feel the truth. The Bible says truth will set you free. Yeah. When people hear the truth, there's a different emotion than when they hear a lie. So when they're saying, oh, Canada's policies and beliefs are the same as Muslim, well, 80% of that citizenry up there just turned over.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Right, exactly.
So as long as they still have the internet, there's still hope that they'll be turned over. So thank you, Al.
All right. Yeah. I haven't heard anybody thank Al Gore recently. That's nice.
Well, I just did.
I like that. Very good. All right. an inconvenient truth. Anyway. Well, you know that I have always been quick to highlight a story that extols the health benefits of drinking coffee. And of course, I got
Steve Johnson.
Oh, well, you know, we got to support our cause here.
Hello, Steve.
Yes, but there is a thing. It's like the 3-cup limit. After that, it's just redundant.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, but I have another one of these stories, but on this one, you better hold the cream and sugar. You might not drink coffee for its health benefits, but it turns out your daily cup could be doing more than just waking you up. A new study from Tufts University published in the Journal of Nutrition suggests that drinking 1 to 2 cups of caffeinated coffee per day is linked to a lower risk of death from all causes, including heart disease. But there's a catch. The health benefits seem to depend on what you put in your coffee. Researchers analyzed data from over 46,000 U.S. adults and found that black coffee, or coffee with only small amounts of sugar or saturated fat, was associated with up to a 17% lower risk of death. But when people added a lot of sugar or high-fat creamers, the benefits disappeared. For reference, low sweetener meant about a half a teaspoon per cup, and low saturated fat equaled around a tablespoon of cream or a few tablespoons of milk. Drinking more than 3 cups a day didn't add further benefits, and there was no clear link between coffee and reduced cancer deaths. Also, decaf didn't show the same positive associations, possibly due to lower consumption overall. So you might be getting a bit of a health boost, but it means keeping your coffee simple. Well, that's interesting too. You know, a half a teaspoon of sugar? Okay.
Makes the medicine go down. Makes the medicine go down.
Yeah.
All right, take it with you, Mark 12:30. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. Hey, it's 100% commitment. All right, good morning to you. Be careful out there. It's dry.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why at Kelly's, it's automotive service with a heart for God, and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Are you struggling to find loyal customers to grow your business? The people you want are watching and listening to the Dove right now. Hello, I'm Perry Atkinson. You know, the Dove offers your business a loyal and faithful audience, a safe and positive media platform to be associated with, reaching over 6 million customers daily. Find faithful customers, partner with theDove and watch your business flourish. Find out more. Contact Nancy Worth, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at theDove today.
You're watching theDove TV, encouraging and informative for Salem, Portland, and the Willamette Valley. Seen on KWVT 17 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Welcome to Focus Today, and boy, it's just so perfect timing that we have our good friend Dr. Gene Getz with us. I call him the Doctor of Calm. He is the chief editor of the Life Essentials Study Bible, and we talk a lot about this, and a lot of you have gone out of your way and ordered one, and there's a couple of places you can get them. I do know that the local stores here carry them, Evangel and Christian Discount Books there in Jacksonville. Or you can go to BiblePrinciples.org, and you can order one there, and you can also download the app. But this is one of the most unique and I think outstanding resources of our day, where Dr. Getz has sit down over the years, and between Genesis and Revelation, he recorded about 1,500 plus QR code videos where you can run your QR reader over that. Dr. Getz pops up in that video and then teaches you that portion of Scripture. Believe me, you'll love it. Great. Gene, how you doing, buddy?
Well, hey, I'm doing great. In fact, I'm on cup number 2. I was listening.
Good for you. Hey,
and I'm probably going to go number 3.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, did you do Angola?
No, we're not able to go there, but the Bibles got there and they were presented, and it was very effective. We just had a problem with plane connections here in Dallas and weren't able to make it. But
well, tell people what that is, because the graduating class inside this prison got your Bibles.
They spend a full year going through a program called Malachi Dads, and every week. So it's a very comprehensive program. Once they finish that, we present them with the Life Essentials Study Bible as a gift for graduation and show them how to use it. So, it's an exciting opportunity.
Are they able to have devices to use it?
Not in that particular prison. I mean, there are some that are running videos that they can access, but still not able to access the videos.
All right, good stuff. Well, Gene, good to see you. I know we have a couple selected principles here it has to do, and this is really such a universal one, honoring God with everything that we do. And the reference is coming out of Ezra, which is an interesting little book tucked in between 2nd Chronicles and Nehemiah.
Right.
You got to really look for it. It's in there.
Right.
Walk us through this principle.
Yeah, well, the principle reads, when God uses us to do his work, we are to glorify him for his faithfulness to us. And Ezra, of course, illustrates that principle, but it's also based on a letter from a pagan king Artaxerxes, in the previous section. And let me just summarize the essence of that letter. It gave Ezra the authority to go to Jerusalem. It provided him with, and believe this is amazing, provided him with silver and gold from the king's own treasury to buy animals and grain for sacrifice to God. And the letter, and this is a pagan king now, issued a decree that those in charge of the treasuries in the Jewish provinces surrounding Jerusalem provide provision for the offerings, not only his treasury, but those surrounding Israel, and it forbid any of the leaders in these provinces around Jerusalem to tax the temple officials, and authorized Ezra to set up a judicial system to make sure that all the Jews in the area kept the Mosaic laws. Now, if you go back and you read that letter in total, it's pretty clear that the reason Artaxerxes gave this letter and this information is that Ezra went to the king and actually asked him to write this letter to make sure that all of this would enable him to accomplish these goals. And that's pretty clear, but it's in view of all of that that we read what Ezra said. Blessed be the Lord, the God of our ancestors, who has put it into the king's mind to glorify the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. Ezra asked, and the king responded, but it was the Lord who opened the mind of Artaxerxes to actually do this. And he says, and who has shown favor to me before the king, his counselors, and all the powerful officers. So I took courage because I was strengthened, and this is key again, I was strengthened by the hand of the Lord my God, and I gathered Israelite leaders to return with me. So Ezra went before the king, which means, by the way, he had credibility with the king, or he couldn't have done that. He made this request, the king responded, and now Ezra is glorifying God for making it all happen. So you see the very unique balance there. So that's why the principle reads, when God uses us to do his work, we're to glorify him for his faithfulness to us.
Wow.
And you know, that's a powerful principle, and for all of us.
It really is. I'm wondering, and there's a couple of things we can unpack here, and one is, do you think we understand that no matter where we are in our walk with God, we're doing his work?
Yes, I think, yeah, that's a very good point.
Because I was told yesterday, and I never thought of it this way, when you really stop and thinking about it, if you read through Scripture, and especially the prophecies, and you get into all the way through Revelation, we're actually acting out history. The history's already been written. We're just acting it out.
Right.
You know, so our job and whatever we do, God is using us to do his work. And I'm just wondering, even what would be considered a menial work, would we understand that we're actually doing his work?
That's right. But here's another point. And at the end of the commentary and in the video, I have this question. Why is it so easy to take credit for our own accomplishments, even when what we have achieved has happened primarily because someone else believed in us and encouraged us? This is taking it to the human level, but since this is an interactive program, Perry, how would you respond to that question?
Well, I would say that that's one of the great, I guess one of the great struggles that we have, that we take credit for something God enabled us to do.
That's right, and that's foundational. But it's so easy, I think, even at the human dimension, when somebody is responsible to help us get where we are, is to forget that we're standing on somebody else's shoulders.
Yes.
And I've used this as an illustration. And when I met with Dr. Howard Hendricks, that I worked with at the seminary for years, took him out to dinner one evening, him and his wife, to thank him for everything that he had done for me. He thanked me for that, and then he turned to me and he said, you know, Gene, I've built into the lives of hundreds and hundreds of individuals over the years, probably thousands. And then he said, you know, I can really count on one hand the number who have responded and thanked me for building into their lives. And I thought, whoa. I was so glad I was there that evening thanking him for what he did for me. But I thought, you know, that's a great lesson, that it's so easy to take credit for ourselves when we are really indebted to others that have helped us get where we are. And so take that another level with God. And Ezra reveals, I'm not going to do that. I did all this hard work, and I went before the king, but it was God who made it all happen. So it's a divine. The principle relates at the divine level and also at the human level.
Boy, that's so beautiful. In this me, I, and myself world.
That's right.
You know, do we take time to really pay tribute and appreciation to those who helped us along the way? I look back on some men in ministry that I've admired and realized that how much I learn now that I've learned from them now. I'm not really realizing that I learned from them earlier.
That's right. And I go back in my own experience that when I entered Moody Bible Institute as a young 18-year-old off the farm in Indiana and couldn't speak the King's English well. And there was a professor that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And, just kept giving me positive feedback, believing in me. And believe it or not, eventually I came back actually to be his associate teaching at Moody Bible Institute.
Wow.
But I know before he passed away, I sat down and I wrote him a letter, thanked him for everything that he had done for me. And of course, at that time, I was teaching at Dallas Seminary, was involved in church planning. And but I'll never forget, if he hadn't been there for me, I may not have even made it through the program there at Moody. I may have gone back to the farm.
Wow.
Because I was having a real tough time believing in myself. And I thank God for him and for others all along the way in my life that helped me to do what I'm doing, including this study Bible.
Yeah.
I think of Dr. Merle Tenney, my professor at Wheaton Graduate School, who made a tremendous impact on me. And if you read through all my principles, you'll see Tenney's approach all the way through.
Wow.
The way he helped me to understand how to interpret Scripture.
Wow. Where in that process, as you look back on those who mentored you and helped you and encouraged you, did you realize what you were involved in was a calling from God?
That's an interesting question, because I have an interesting interpretation on call, and that is that, when you look at the Scriptures, very few individuals overall had a direct calling from God, like Abraham and Moses,
right,
and the Apostle Paul, and so forth. To me, my call was a desire to be in the Lord's work, based on encouragement to be in the Lord's work. So I go back to sort of the normative passage in Scripture, and that's in 1 Timothy 3, where Paul says, if any man desires to be a spiritual leader, that's great, but just make sure, Paul said to Timothy, he's mature. And so I think the normative is that we have this desire to become the person that God wants us to be in order to be used of God. And to me, that gives me a sense of real encouragement, because I can't point to a specific experience where I felt called.
Right.
It was a process.
Right.
A process that brought me to that assurance that this is what God wanted me to do. And it was through the influence of other people that that I felt that sense of calling, if you want to use that terminology.
No, it's great. I can say a big amen to that. As you look back, you see clearly, more clear than when you're in it, and you realize how God uses everything and everybody to get you to where you are today. So, good stuff.
Right.
All right, let me take a quick break. And again, let me say, if you don't have one of these Bibles, let me certainly encourage you to consider getting one. You can go to BiblePrinciples.org. You can get one there. And also download the app. The app is, gosh, I can't tell you how much I use that app once in a while. It's just amazing. But the Bible itself, nothing like holding it in your hand. And if you have a QR reader on your phone or your tablet, you can run that over the QR code. And Dr. Getz pops up there, and in his very calming and loving way, he walks you through that portion of Scripture. So check it out, BiblePrinciples.org. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Elbert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your window seal, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Okay, welcome back, and always an honor to have with us Dr. Gene Getz. He's the chief editor of the Life Essential Study Bible, and of course, through the years, you've heard us talk about this. It's a great resource. You can go to BiblePrinciples.org, and there's a picture of the landing page. You can order a Bible there, or you can download the app. I do know if you're in the immediate local area, both of our bookstores carry them over at Evangel in the mall, and of course, Discount Books in Jacksonville carry this Bible, or if you can go online there at the BiblePrinciples.org. Well, Gene, this is an interesting topic. We flip over to the Gospel of Matthew, and we're dealing with the subject of physical healing. This is such an amazing thing. I could probably talk to you for hours about this. And I find it interesting that when people have some kind of a physical ailment, no matter what it is, they'll call for prayer. And I understand that, and God does heal. I've witnessed it. But isn't it interesting? They may not even have a relationship with God, but they want God to physically touch them. This is an interesting topic because somewhere in the middle of this, the spiritual healing is more important than the physical healing. So walk us through this.
Well, the principle, Perry, reads, though we are to pray for physical healing, we must differentiate between spiritual healing for salvation and physical healing for the body. And it's really based on a passage of Scripture here related to Jesus. And, of course, he was the great healer. where Jesus went into Peter's house, saw his mother, healed her, touched her, the fever left her. She got up, she began to serve him. And to top it off, when evening came, they brought to Jesus many who were demon-possessed, drove out the spirits with the word, healed all who were sick, so that what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. He, and this is a quotation actually from Isaiah, chapter 53, he himself took our weaknesses and carried our diseases. Now, there's no question that Jesus was the great healer. And there's no question that God gave the apostles particularly the ability to heal. And there's no question that we are to pray for healing. But the problem is when people take this verse of Scripture from Isaiah and repeated here by Matthew and conclude that healing is guaranteed, physical healing is guaranteed because of the atonement, because of what Christ did on the cross. But here's the important thing in biblical interpretation. We have to look at the whole biblical story, and particularly in the New Testament, and you will see that healing is not guaranteed in this life, physical healing. Spiritual healing, yes, but not physical healing. Classic illustration is the Apostle Paul, who was able, not always, but when God came and gave him the power to do so, healed people. But he himself 3 times asked God to heal him. And we don't know exactly what the problem was, but it was related to his physical body. And it didn't happen. And God said, Paul, my grace is sufficient for you. And he accepted that. And that was the guarantee, the grace to endure the problem, but not to experience physical healing. And the problem that I see here, Perry, and I see it, and I've seen it in all my years of ministry, is what happens when people believe that healing is guaranteed, physical healing, if you have enough faith, and when it doesn't happen, that creates tremendous problems in people's lives, such as, guilt because they feel they don't have enough faith. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. People also, some actually lose their faith because it doesn't happen. They're told that it's their problem. And that's the sad part, is that when it doesn't happen, then those that are in many times in the healing ministry put the blame back on the individual in not having enough faith. So very sensitive. I say this very sensitively. That's cruel theology.
Right.
Putting that burden on people with a false view of Scripture. Now, having said that, agreeing with what you said right at the very beginning of the program, I believe that we are to pray for healing based on James, chapter 5.
Right.
I believe that we should pray for healing. And I've seen God on various occasions, I feel, bring healing into people's lives. But I never, when I pray for them, when the elders pray, I never give them the sense that we know that it's God's will for them to be healed because of our prayer. But we do say, and I've said this to people, listen, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and he has the power to heal you. We just don't know if it's his will. But we're going to pray that if it is his will, that you'll be healed. And that really puts people at ease.
Isn't there...
That makes sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. Do you think there's a direct connection between physical healing and spiritual healing?
Yes, I think that... Yeah, let me just... That's a great question.
Well, let me...
Because
Let me qualify a little bit, because you mentioned James chapter 5. James chapter 5 has another connection to this, and that is certainly call for the elders anoint with oil. But the next verses down says this: confess your faults to one another so that you may be healed.
Right.
There's something in the confession, there's something in the spiritual cleansing that relates to healing.
Right. And it's not just the spiritual, but it's the psychological connection there, that when we're freed up from guilt, for example, that can bring actual physical healing. Mm-hmm. There's a definite connection between the mind and the body that can affect a healing process within the body. And when you look at that passage there in James carefully, there are 3 Greek words actually used for 3 different kinds of healing that actually take place as a result. And that's one of them right there that you put your finger on, that when we confess, one of the things that happens is that cleansing, that freedom from guilt, that frees up the body, because guilt can do tremendous damage to the body.
Oh.
You're right. Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right. Well, listen, get a copy of this great resource called the Life Essential Study Bible, and you can do it by going to BiblePrinciples.org right there. Check out the Bibles. By the way, he's got one in Spanish. It is really, well, I say it's somewhat entertaining, but it's also very powerful to watch Gene speak Spanish.
I tell you, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, the overlay is amazing, absolutely amazing. But anyway, they've got a Spanish version of this now. So you go to BiblePrinciples.org, English, Spanish, and you can download the app. It's all really, really good stuff. Jane, always good to see you, friend. You're such an encouragement, and I'm going to give you the okay to have cup number 3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
God bless you, too.
From top home sellers in the Valley with John L. Scott,
to making RV consignment effortless.
American RV, where Team Toner gets your RV sold fast.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Washington Watch with Tony Perkins. Every weeknight covering current events, issues of faith, family, and freedom. Tony is president of the FRC and your leading source for what's really happening in our nation's capital. Weeknights on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. And of course, our Supreme Court is, now starting to release a lot of their decisions from the previous session. A lot's going on there, and they seem to be still pretty active. I'm always honored when we have time to sit down with Mark Miller. He's the senior attorney there at the Pacific Legal Foundation. I can't say enough about this organization and the great work that they do on our behalf. They're frontline warriors on key cases in so many areas. You may want to go to pacificlegal.org is the website, pacificlegal.org, and check out what they do and support them, pacificlegal.org. Mark, good to see you again, friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for your kind words, Perry. Great to be with you.
Well, I mean them sincerely, so thank you for what you guys are doing. All right, some big decisions there. Supreme Court upheld the Tennessee law that bans gender transition. This is a biggie. It's being applauded and yet opposed. Can you walk us through the decision here?
Yeah, absolutely. The Scarametti decision, as it's known, Tennessee its legislature, Perry, had adopted a law where they said that juveniles, anyone under 18, could not be treated for gender dysphoria with hormones and the like. It's not about surgery, but otherwise, for gender dysphoria, you can't have hormones administered to you, even if your parents consent. The legislature simply said, we don't trust the experts on this. Yes, there are experts on one side saying it's a good idea, others saying it's a bad idea. And Tennessee legislature said, no go. They said, adults, fine, adults can make decisions for themselves, but not children. And so some parents and their children who wanted this kind of treatment sued the state, said this violates our constitutional rights of equal protection. And it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled yesterday 6-3 that Tennessee legislators do have the authority to do this. This is not discrimination against transgenders. There's a reasonable basis for the law. And the 6-3 breakdown was not surprising. It was the 6 Republican appointees and the 3 Democrat appointees in dissent.
Sotomayor's dissent was quite loud, wasn't it?
Yes, Justice Sotomayor, she dissented on behalf of Justice Jackson, Justice Kagan, and herself, although Justice Kagan wouldn't go as far as Justice Sotomayor. Justice Sotomayor said not only was this wrong, but she was sure the case should be reversed entirely, that this was discrimination. Justice Kagan said she thinks that transgenders are a protected class, and she would have sent it back to the lower court to decide, was this a proper decision, even though they're a protected class, because you can justify it, or was it improper? But the 6 justices in the majority, Chief Justice Roberts wrote an opinion, Justice Alito wrote an opinion, Justice Coney Barrett wrote an opinion, and Justice Thomas wrote an opinion. But Roberts spoke for the panel, spoke for the majority, and they said, no, this is not discrimination. There's a rational basis for this law, which is to protect juveniles on 2 grounds. One, we're not treating all transgenders differently. We're just treating minors differently. And 2, the medical knowledge is uncertain. Justice Thomas went even further, and he said, I don't trust the experts, basically. I'm paraphrasing. And he said, we shouldn't either. And there's no violation of the Equal Protection Clause here. Any way you slice it, this was a big win for Congress and for state legislators. Basically, the Supreme Court said we shouldn't be getting involved in making what are policy decisions. If you think juveniles should get this treatment, then elect legislators who say this treatment would be entirely fine. But Tennessee and about 20 other states say, no, we don't want this in our states. And that's what the legislators wanted. And the court said, we're not going to get involved. The Constitution doesn't speak to this.
Let me just, for a moment, Mark, just back up a little bit. Has gender dysphoria become a medical term based on provable science?
Well, that is much of what was being disputed, Perry, that this idea that children who may think they were born into the wrong body, if you will, whether that's a psychological issue, whether that's a physical issue, basically the justices were saying the science is all over the map, and we're not going to weigh in on one side or the other. Certainly, Perry, you and I both can look at the world these days and say 20 years ago, this is not the kind of thing we heard much about. Some would say this is, sort of a hysteria, no different than, say, the tulip hysteria hundreds and hundreds of years ago, just in different wine bottle, but the same concept where society gets hysterical about issues, and that 10 years from now there'll be a different issue. I don't know. That's that's beyond my legal degree. But what I will say is the Supreme Court said we aren't smarter than the rest of the country. The legislators should be the ones to decide this, not us.
Yeah, the reason I asked that because if it's been officially diagnosed as a medical term, is it in the area of all the baloney that we got through COVID?
Perry, I think that's a great comparison. And I heard a Supreme Court expert say, is this like if you were diagnosed with HIV in the 90s? Could you be discriminated against?
Right.
And my thought in response to that, Perry, was I don't think so. I don't think it's the same. You either have HIV or you don't. Here, Justice Coney Barrett, in her concurrence, she wrote her own opinion that Justice Thomas joined, and she said this gender dysphoria issue, it doesn't always come in the same platform. Sometimes children develop it when they're 5, 10, 15. Sometimes people grow out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that's not really what we think of when we think of discriminating against, say, someone who's a minority or a woman or your alienage, that you're from another country. There, you either are or you're not. Here, Justice Barrett said, no, we don't know. Sometimes, it's not obvious when you present that you have this condition, or like HIV.
Yeah. I've just been doing a lot of research and thinking on this only because it's so prevalent at state levels and for various reasons. It moves over into the mental health issue and all of the things that tie into that. It's really a loose cannon. I want to come back to another case here that certainly even impacts an organization like yourself and ours, and that is the First Choice Women's Resource Center on disclosing donor lists. This is a big deal. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, this one is remarkable, and your viewers absolutely need to know about it because the Supreme Court has addressed this issue before, but right now the left side of the aisle doesn't want to accept the answer. And what it is about donor lists. If you donate to a nonprofit, the Supreme Court has said for decades that you have a right to be anonymous, that a nonprofit like theDove, my guess would be, or Pacific Legal Foundation, or the Pro-Life Center in New Jersey that is the subject of this lawsuit, they have the right to keep their donors' names confidential. This was a decision from the 50s where racists in Alabama wanted to find out who was donating to the NAACP. And the Supreme Court said in the 50s that no, you have no right to that. Those people have a First Amendment right to be confidential. Their donation is speech, and they don't have to tell you that they're donating. And now the left, liberals in New Jersey, the Attorney General of New Jersey, are trying to avoid that precedent and say that they can get the donor lists of a pro-life center that helps women who have chosen life. And so the Supreme Court intervened to say, because so far the courts have said, yeah, it's okay that the pro-life center could be ordered to turn over their donor lists. And my guess is, Perry, the Supreme Court is going to say once again that no, you are not entitled to those lists. It's obvious this is just designed to harass people. And it's wrong and it's unconstitutional. And yeah, at Pacific Legal Foundation, we absolutely would agree with this pro-life center, even though we don't do pro-life work per se. You know, Perry, that I'm the chairman of the board on the side for Americans United for Life, so I am pro-life. But the bottom line is, if you're a nonprofit, you should not be forced to give up your donor lists.
Is there a danger of a nonprofit that just voluntarily gives that list out?
I mean, isn't it the truth, Perry, that you and I, we know the law. Certainly the nonprofits I'm involved with know the law, and I'll make sure, whether it's Americans United for Life or Pacific Legal Foundation, that we don't give up the names. But there's so many nonprofits that they don't have lawyers on their board necessarily who know that they don't have to respond when the Attorney General orders them to turn over the name lists, that they can actually fight it. And maybe if they could fight it, they can't afford to fight it. And that's why it's important for the Supreme Court to weigh in resoundingly here. And I think they will. I think you'll see a 9-0 decision. I don't like to make predictions, but here the law has been black and white for so long, really, like I said, since the 50s with the NAACP being harassed. I think the Supreme Court's going to make it clear this is wrong, and the New Jersey Attorney General is way out of bounds to be harassing a pro-life crisis pregnancy center.
Well, it will dry up nonprofits.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it's why, thankfully, the Supreme Court justices, even 5 years ago, this issue came up where the California Attorney General, originally it was Newsom, and then who's now the governor, and so when he became governor, it became Rob Bonta. And they were trying to harass Americans for Prosperity, another nonprofit on, not surprisingly, on the conservative side of the ledger, and they wanted their donor lists. And the Supreme Court said no. So it's a little surprising that 5 years later we have to deal with it again, but I think the Supreme Court will get it right again.
Is it true, Mark, that part of that argument is politicians, candidates do have to report, I should say, in their CE reports who donates to them? Is that part of the argument?
I think that's as much part of the argument so much as it creates the confusion, Perry. There are those who would argue, and I might, if I'm feeling very First Amendment-ish, that you shouldn't have to turn over who's donating to you as a campaigner, that violates their First Amendment rights. But at least until now, the Supreme Court has said that's different, and that, yes, you do have to turn over who's donating to your campaigns. And so I think that you could argue that's what the Attorney General of New Jersey or the Attorney General of California 5-6 years ago were relying upon. But the fact that there's confusion on the issue doesn't mean that the law is not plain.
Yeah, because to that point, a lot of people won't donate to candidates because they don't want to be exposed, or they use other means to get the money to them, which in itself creates money laundering.
Well, and as you know, Perry, it's really outrageous the way the political world has been. Violence has become a regular issue, whether it's those legislators in Minnesota last week, or the president had 2 assassination attempts, or at least 1 assassination attempt, and one somebody who didn't actually get didn't shoot, but got arrested. And of course, we remember what happened in Arizona with Gabby Giffords and Steve Scalise. And so this idea that we're going to now start exposing donors, it just seems like people are trying to intimidate. If you're a pro-lifer and you donate to that pro-life center in New Jersey, or to the Dove, or to Pacific Legal Foundation, and that's really wrong.
Yeah,
and it's a sad part of our modern life.
Yeah, I just. Okay, thank you for being there, because this is so big, really big. All right, let me take a quick break a little early because I got some big questions on the other side. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out pacificlegal.org. That's Mark's foundation right there. There's a picture of their landing page. You may just want to go through there and take a look at some of the cases they're involved in. If they weren't there, I don't think we would be here. They are just really frontline warriors in a lot of things that we hold dear. So check them out and support them. pacificlegal.org. We'll be right back.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning rogue river scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Wildfire season is coming. Are you ready? All it takes is one small ember to level a home. Reduce any fire hazards around your home and property to prevent an escaped fire from spreading out of control and to protect your home from an oncoming wildfire. It's called Defensible Space, and it works. Go to keeporegongreen.org to learn more.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
He needed to get to the hospital.
And just knew that, this was getting worse, progressively worse.
But there wasn't much hope.
I would put his statistics at dying on the way down to see me, probably around 70, 80%.
Then, in the middle of surgery, they made a startling discovery.
And while I couldn't speak and I couldn't open my eyes, I felt God's peace.
Thursday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back, and such an honor to have with us Mark Miller. He's the senior attorney there at Pacific Legal Foundation. Let me encourage you to check out their website, pacificlegal.org. And Mark and his team, I'm telling you, they just outstanding. They're there really in our behalf. So check it out and support them, pacificlegal.org. Mark, one of the big things going on, especially here on the West, is what's going on with the National Guard. Of course, you know the story, and the California National Guard being dispatched in Los Angeles. The president turns around and nationalizes the Guard. There's some conflicting terms here. We have the word National Guard. You have the California National Guard. And the president wants to nationalize that. Of course, Newsom gets all uptight and says no to this. What's your take on this mess?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question, and I think it may be going to the Supreme Court, Perry. You know, the president decided as commander-in-chief that he would, the verb is federalize, that he would take the state National Guard for California and order them as commander-in-chief to get out in the streets of Los Angeles and make sure to, stop any civil unrest, to do so peaceably, but to be there to make it clear that violence was not the way we do protests in the United States. Nonviolent protests like Martin Luther King is what we prefer. Governor Newsom said, no, this is the California National Guard, and if I don't want to go along with that, then I get the final word. I was very surprised by Governor Newsom's position there. As you know, Perry, I worked for Kristi Noem. I was her chief of staff and general counsel. And we addressed this same issue about 4 years ago, where Governor Stitt of Oklahoma wanted to block Biden from forcing National Guardsmen in Oklahoma from being vaccinated with this experimental vaccines for COVID. We looked at that in South Dakota, and I had to tell Governor Noem, we can't, we will lose that fight. President Biden is commander-in-chief, and we may disagree with that vaccination order, but between your power as governor and the president's power as commander-in-chief, you will lose. So we didn't get involved, and Governor Stitt lost his lawsuit. I may respect him that he wanted to defend his state National Guardsmen who didn't want the vaccine, but bottom line is he lost. And you can make an argument that that's really inappropriate, even though I'm not making the argument. You could say that it's like a lieutenant suing the general. Here, same thing, shoes on the other foot. Just because Governor Newsom doesn't like what the president was doing, he doesn't really have any leg to stand on. Surprisingly, a trial judge, a district judge in San Francisco said he was right, but the appeals court in California, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, had argument earlier this week, and they indicated they're going to rule for the president, that we have precedent going back 150, almost to the beginning of the country, 150 years, 200 years, that says, no, the president's commander-in-chief, you may disagree with his decision, but he has the final say in when the National Guard is used to quell civil unrest. And so that's where I think we are. It may go to the Supreme Court or it may end. It depends how much Governor Newsom wants to make a political grandstand out of this.
The complexion of the Ninth Circuit's changed, so it's good to hear this. And do you think it'll end there?
And that's what's interesting is you're right. The court has moved a little bit to the right. It's still a court that we would call a liberal court among the courts of appeals that cover the country that are one step below the U.S. Supreme Court. Here you had two Republican appointees and one Democrat appointee on the panel that heard the arguments about whether Governor Newsom could do this and overrule the president. And all three judges made it clear, this was just a few days ago, that they don't think Governor Newsom had that power, that the precedent was clear, even the Democrat appointee. And I think that's correct. And to me, that was reassuring, Perry. I've been on with you earlier this year, and I've been a little disappointed with judges who seem to think they can just make things up. I believe very much in the rule of law, and I know most judges do too, most lawyers do. But when judges start just doing what they think because they don't like what the president's doing, they send a message to the people that it's not about law, that it's about power. And that's 100% wrong. And so I applaud, hopefully in advance, the Ninth Circuit for getting this right. And then hopefully Governor Newsom will do the right thing too and stand down. But who knows?
Well, at the end of the day, the National Guard is military, therefore commander-in-chief in charge. I mean, it's kind of simple, isn't it?
That's, Oliver Wendell Holmes, 120 years ago, he said, the law is a prediction. The lawyers have to predict what courts are going to do. And here, it should be pretty easy to predict that the president's the commander-in-chief, he's the final word. So when the judge in the case initially said, no, Governor Newsom can overrule the president, that was frustrating because that was not what you would predict the courts would do. And so I applaud the Ninth Circuit, as I said earlier, that, society needs to depend that the judges who enforce the law or interpret the laws will interpret them neutrally and fairly, not because they're partisan, not because of what they want on policy, but rather what the law demands. And hopefully that's what the judges are going to do here. And hopefully the Supreme Court is going to rein in some of these district judges who have gotten a little bit out of bounds with their rulings.
Okay, I want to come to that, but one more point. Most of this hinges on the fact that the president is trying to protect national government employees and facilities in L.A., correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Perry, I'm reminded, just to follow up on that, I'm reminded of the 60s. And there you had Governor Reagan, was governor of California, and he was having to put down civil unrest. And it wasn't a partisan issue in the 60s. You had Democrat governors. I have a picture of Notre Dame behind me, the Golden Dome, and the president of Notre Dame, Father Ted Hesburgh at the time, he's a well-known Democrat. But he absolutely stood with Ronald Reagan metaphorically and said that the students on Notre Dame could not use violence. If they were going to use violence in protest, they would be kicked out of school. And he became a leader across the country. And it showed that this was bipartisan, that we do not protest with violence in the United States. Whether it was Governor Reagan back then, Governor Newsom now, we have to recognize that the power of the government to put down violence is not something that we should be questioning, even though we would prefer we don't have National Guard on the streets. It'd be better to be peaceable.
Okay, I want to come back to these continued injunctions coming out of these district courts. You and I have chatted about this, and it doesn't seem to be ending. Now we're discovering all this time there's a little bit of an ambiguity here where the jurisdiction of the district court needs to be clearly defined. Where do you think this is going to go, Mark?
Well, right now the Supreme Court, Perry, is looking at it through the prism of the birthright citizenship case, which is the question of whether President Trump can sort of change the law. For basically since the 14th Amendment was ratified, the courts have said that if you're born here under the text of the 14th Amendment, then you are a citizen, even if your parents were not here legally. And President Trump is trying to change that. Well, that case is in front of the court, and one of the issues is that the trial judges have said that the president is wrong, he can't change that, and they are blocking the entire country from agreeing with the President Trump, even though a district judge just covers like one portion of the country, usually a city or what we call a district, so San Francisco, or New Jersey. There's one district for New Jersey, so the entire state. But here the judge of New Jersey would say, I can rule for the whole country that the president can't do this. So the Supreme Court has to wrestle with two issues in the case. One, can they rein in these district judges and say, no, you don't get to speak for the whole country, you just speak for your district. You're a district judge, after all. And then two, they may weigh in on the birthright citizenship issue, or they may say, let's have later arguments on that. Nationwide injunctions, though, are what we're talking about, Perry, and I do think you'll see the Supreme Court rule on that in the next 2 weeks.
So if the Supreme Court tells the district court that you have to stay within your jurisdiction, do you think that'll be codified by Congress?
Congress is absolutely talking about different ways to codify that power. One thing they're doing is sort of trying to threaten judges. It's not easy. It's an interesting interplay of the separation of powers. Congress can only impeach and remove federal judges. That's their power. But also Congress creates the district courts. The Constitution only creates the U.S. Supreme Court. And then all the other courts that we talk about, the Federal Appeals Court, the Federal District Courts, Court of International Trade, and the tariff case that we've talked about before, these are all created by Congress. So what Congress giveth, Congress could taketh away. But I think more likely you would see Congress pass a law that tries to clarify that district judges only rule in their districts, but you could also see Congress saying, well, if the Supreme Court fixes it, we won't get involved because of the separation of powers.
Okay, because you know what's so interesting about this? It's I don't know if it's ironic or hypocritical. These district courts need more judges. I mean, their caseload is unbelievable. You would think they would focus their attention there instead of being politicized to get outside their district.
Perry, that's a really perceptive question. In fact, right there at the end of the Biden administration, there was a bipartisan effort to create a lot more district judgeships to address the exact issue you're talking about. And it was trying to be set up in a way that would be nonpartisan so that the current president would get X number of new appointments. And then the next president, we wouldn't know, that would be 4 or 8 years later, would get Y number of appointments. So both Democrats and Republicans tried to do it in a nonpartisan way. But President Biden vetoed it. And so you might say that was a mistake on his part, because if he had not vetoed it, he would have gotten to make some of those new appointments, new judges. And instead, he vetoed it because he didn't want to risk Republicans getting the appointments. And now what you could see is President Trump maybe getting more new appointments because Congress will return to this issue. It absolutely is a crisis. Just like you said, there are not enough judges for all the cases that we have in federal court.
So, coming to the end of the session, do you think you'll see a justice say, I'm done on the Supreme Court when this is all over?
I don't think so. That's, it's certainly what everyone is trying to guess. I mean, Justice Alito, Justice Thomas are, I think, the oldest justices on the court. I don't think either of them have given any indication. Justice Thomas, for his part, is approaching the record length of a justice ever serving on the U.S. Supreme Court. I think he reaches the record in 2028. So I could see him perhaps breaking the record and then retiring, and while President Trump is still in power. But I think most people who predict that he will want to stay on. And why shouldn't he? He's absolutely lucid. He's one of the most incisive minds on the court. And of course, Justice Alito, he has done fantastic rulings over the last several years. He is, other than having a fight about his wife putting the upside down flag on her house at the Jersey Shore, he's liking his job just as much as he ever has. So I don't think we'll see a retirement this year, but maybe over, towards the end of President Trump's second term in office.
Okay, I would understand that. So any other cases that we're missing that you're tracking there?
I think a good case for your viewers to look for, Perry, is Texas's law to say that everyone has to prove up how old they are to look at those unseemly sort of porn sites. The Supreme Court's considering whether that violates the adults' free speech. The idea of this law is to protect children, just like that Tennessee law that we just talked about earlier with transgender treatment. And I think the Supreme Court will uphold the Texas law and say that indeed it doesn't violate anyone's rights to just require you to prove you're an adult before you look at those kind of websites. That's one of the most interesting cases left to be decided over the next 2 weeks.
How in the world do they police that?
Well, that's outside my ken. We would need an IT person for that, but I think they can. They make you show ID or something to that effect when you log in. Thankfully, I don't know exactly how that would work.
Okay. So about a minute left here. What are you guys working on lately?
Yeah, so at Pacific Legal Foundation, we are really focusing on environment and natural resources law. This is one issue. We fight for property rights, and right now the administration is very much in line with what we think, which, for example, the timber industry. We need to free up the timber industry, the mining industry. We need to free up people who are trying to mine to get the precious minerals that we need for our military, for example. Mm-hmm. But we have so much red tape. So we're fighting against that. We're working with the administration, Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, Department of Interior, Secretary Burgum, to try and free up. And then when we have to, we will sue. But right now, we're pretty happy with the administration, and we're just trying to get them to do things more quickly.
Please let us get back into these forests after forest fires and clean them up.
Exactly. That's been one of the real mistakes we've made over the last 50 years. In trying to, quote, protect the environment, we're actually causing forest fires. We're not managing our national lands the way we should, and we should allow farmers and ranchers to get in there and manage them for us. That really would be a better way to manage the country. It's the way we did it from the founding of the country until the 1970s.
Yeah, right. Interesting stuff. Mark, thank you. Thank you for your time. Blessings on your friend. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out the website, pacificlegal.org. That is the place. And fascinating, some of the things they're involved in. Go there, check it out, support them. Again, Mark, thank you. We value your time. God bless you, my friend.
And God bless you right back, Perry. Thank you.